This is the most serious threat to our game.
In an historic year.
The grand final we played at the Gabba.
Comes an unprecedented final series.
Grandstand AFL.
It's a new day.
Dunkley, snap from the pocket, splits the middle, loading a little death row, and a toe poke for a goal off the outside of his left boot.
Straight down the pipe, Rayner, what a mark! Flew from the back, worked his way to the front, came down with a footy.
One hand, pulled it in, pushed away his opponent.
A banana for his first, a banana beauty.
Jenner from beyond 50 can bring the house down. He's worth the price of admission at any time, at any stadium.
He's kicked it.
Oh, he has kicked it!
Grandstand AFL.
AFL.
The 2020 AFL Finals Series.
On ABC Radio and on Grandstand Digital.
It is the last leg of what's been a sensational first week of finals so far. The Saturday night stage could produce a stunner. West Coast and Collingwood, arguably the nation's best cross-country rivalry. Both behemoths of clubs, both with fan bases that demand success. These sides provide epic final contests. And for one of them, 2020 ends tonight. No second chances. The losers bow out. The winners book a date with Geelong. Will it be the Eagles or the Magpies who go through? Welcome to Perth Stadium. Clint Wilden in commentary alongside Ben Cameron. Ben, a big night ahead of us. Spectacular afternoon. Hopefully the game lives up to what we've seen so far in week one.
Yeah, good evening, Clint. It's great to be here. Elimination final, win or go home. A glorious day here in Perth, it has to be said. The sun just setting now. It's a little bit chilly, but perfect for football. The Eagles 7-0 here at Perth Stadium this year. So they haven't lost on this turf this year. That being said, Collingwood did come here late last year and beat the West Coast Eagles. So they know they can. And we know what happened in 2018. Of course, the West Coast Eagles won here in a qualifying final against Collingwood, and then they met again in the grand final a few weeks later. So it is a great rivalry, like you said. I think it'll be a little closer than some people believe. I'm not sure the West Coast Eagles will run roughshod over Collingwood tonight, like some perhaps think.
Our experts tonight could not be better. One, a former senior coach and a dual premiership winner with West Coast. The other picked up a flag with Collingwood. Don Pike and Sharad Wellingham, welcome to both of you. You've been at this sort of stage before. Tell us, down in the rooms, the Magpies and the Eagles, how would things be, both as coaches and as players, before an elimination final?
Well, team, thanks for having us. Looking forward to a final. Finals footy is the best time of the year. Even when you just go out on the oval in the warm-up in finals, it feels different. The paint's a little bit different. It feels that it's spring. There's a different feel in the air, Plucky. It's a good time of the year, and I think the feeling in the change rooms will be a mix between nerves and excitement from both teams. I think the excitement of finals footy, but then the nerves being an elimination final. Everything's on the line, as Benny said. It's win or go home. So a good mix there, and I think when it comes to finals, it's who can settle first and get into the I suppose, mojo of the way they want to play first, which is the team that usually settles and can come away with the win. Pikey?
Yeah, good afternoon, and great to be here. This is what footy's about, and great. Looking forward to this game all weekend. I know the other games have been great, but you got the grand finalists from 2 years ago going head-to-head for, as you say, win or go home, and this is what the season's all about, is finals footy, and great night. It's going to be a brilliant night for footy, and I think Collingwood, as much as their form line coming in hasn't been great, that you can mount a case for them based on how they play, but they're going to have to improve from last time they played West Coast here in round 8. Otherwise, West Coast form and line at this ground in particular, and the confidence they have playing here might just be enough. But I expect when you've got nothing to lose, and Collingwood clearly have nothing to lose, and they've got enough quality, I'm expecting a close contest tonight. Looking forward to it.
There's been an awful lot made of, and rightly so, Collingwood having to come back across, go into another quarantine. West Coast have been in their own quarantine, but they have been able to at least stay in their homes. how much would the advantage have been for Collingwood to having done this before? They came across, were part of the Perth hub previously, played 3 games, got 1 good win over Geelong, lost to the 2 WA clubs. But the experience, Collingwood seemed to have been, well, really keen to tell their supporters this week, having been here once has been good for us. Do you think that's the truth?
Yeah, I think we saw that with West Coast when they went back to Queensland for the second time. I mean, having gone through it, the unknowns, and there were so many unknowns, and this is the uniqueness of the season, is that it's thrown up so many things which have been completely different, from quarantines to hubs to travel to, all those sorts of things, short turnarounds. The players have just had to adapt, and I think Collingwood's message has been really clear. They won't use that as an excuse tonight. The reality is West Coast finished 5th. They earned the right to host a home final, and Collingwood come back, settle back into their old digs at Joondalup there and get ready to play. So I think that was probably more, if I'm talking from Nathan Buckley's viewpoint, he's probably saying, well, let's deal with that up front and go, we're not going to sit here and whinge and complain about having to come back here and quarantine for 7 days to play a game of footy. We've got a game of footy to play, and the reality is we've got to give ourselves a good account if we want to continue in the season.
And I suppose the other benefit is they can just view it as an away game the way they usually would. It's like they come in, play the game and go back. It's not like they're having to settle here and get used to new conditions or anything. They're used to travelling, so it's just a in and out job instead of a, I suppose, actual quarantine session.
Yeah, well, because they've only got the 7 days this time, having come across when last Friday. So, I think they would have just settled, and clearly that's been their message, and they'll focus in on just playing the game, which is what you want. From a coaching viewpoint, you don't want people distracted by other things outside of their control. The reality is they knew as soon as they finished 8th, and West Coast was 5th, they were coming across here to play. So let's deal with that and prepare ourselves as best to play as well as we can to keep our season alive.
We'll talk about the ins and outs in just a moment, but I do want to get one more thought from both of you, and having been involved in this rivalry between these 2 great football clubs. And Don, if we talk about some of the big moments, 1990, the draw was one of them. The 1994 game at the WACA ground, which you were involved in, famously, John Worsfold had a bit to say at the end of proceedings. But these are the sort of nights where rivalries are made. You go through the 2007 semi-final, which was simply spectacular, Collingwood versus the West Coast Eagles, finished with scores level, and a 19-year-old Scott Pendlebury really did just show the world how good he could be. Kicked one of the goals in the second period of extra time. In fact, the goal really that sealed the game for Collingwood. And with respect to Magpie supporters who have been sick of seeing it all week, I'm sure, Dom Sheed's finish for the 2018 grand final, after what had been a terrific final here earlier in the season anyway. These are the games where the legends of footy clubs are made at these sort of times, and you see these rivalries build. How, when you look back at something like that 1994 semi-final, you've just broken out into a bit of a grin, which I reckon West Coast supporters listening around the country would as well. What are the things that you remember?
I just want to say one thing I remember about this kind of, I suppose, event is Mick, and I don't know if he was like this when he was coaching you, but he would thrive on it. He would absolutely love the history and the tradition between great rivalries, and that's one thing I remember. He'd love getting everyone really excited about a great rivalry.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that evolves. Like, it's the same with the Essendon and the jacket waving, which came out of Sheedy and Malthouse's rivalry and some close games. And the games you just mentioned, litter across both clubs' history, and they're big moments in the game, and so you do reflect back. I was smiling on the basis of, I can almost see that Mickey McGuan unfortunately spill that mark and then the siren go, and we obviously go on and win the flag. Now, fine line in footy. If he takes that mark, kicks the goal, well, maybe it's we don't do that, or I think that we'd been out, wouldn't we?
You'd have been gone.
Yeah, so then we clearly wouldn't have done it. So, and tonight's another opportunity. 2 sides really evenly matched. West Coast with the home ground advantage, but that'll be built on it. And you'll see, and that's what finals footy does. The pressure of finals footy elevates the teams and the individuals who can deal with that pressure and can execute under that pressure. And that's what you see. And you mentioned Pendlebury, so it's not surprising that the cream, it's a bit like a golf tournament. You watch this leaderboard, and slowly but surely over the 4 days, the cream slowly rises to the top. So you look at the leaderboard on the back 9 on a Sunday, and the best players are there, because their games are so solid that they come to the level and they rise up and they're able to find a way to really compete and compete hard for a big prize. And you'll see that tonight, and there's big players on both sides. That's why it's going to be exciting to see exactly how it all plays out.
No late changes worth bringing to your attention. The umpires making their way out into the middle as we speak. But for West Coast, 4 ins I'd say all of them big ones too. Jeremy McGovern returns, Luke Sherry returns, Jamie Cripps, who I think often gets underestimated how important he can be for the West Coast Eagles, he's back, and so too Jack Red on the outs. Schofield, Williams, Foley all omitted, and Rotherham with a heel injury. And Collingwood, Chris Mayne, who just shows so much courage, returns. I guess the question would be the inclusion of Darcy Cameron. We'll get your thoughts on that in a moment. Brown and Varco missing out. That is, of course, of the Browns, the T Brown, who misses out Tyler Brown from the Collingwood side. Darcy Cameron, have they perhaps gone too tall, Collingwood? Because when you look at it on paper, it's the first thing that seems to spring to mind. You've got Mycheck up there and Cox, and then you include the likes of Cameron. How do you assess the decision by Nathan Buckley and the match committee to bring Cameron into the team?
Well, I'll jump in, Sherrod. I think you've got Cameron, who was pretty productive in the first quarter last time these teams played. You've got West Coast, whose strength behind the ball is clearly their intercept marking with Barras, McGovern, Shepherd and co. And if you looked at Collingwood's game last week, they brought Cox a bit higher up the ground and were using him as more of a target out of half-back. They've struggled this year to really set up effective counter-attacks out of their back half, certainly out of their D50. So if Cox is going to be further up the ground, it means if you win that contest, who are you kicking to? And they've really relied upon DeGoey to be that small forward, which at times can work and can be really dangerous. But I think the extra tall just gives them the ability to not allow West Coast to intercept mark it. And they would have looked at the Richmond game and said, if you can stop West Coast marking the ball behind, in your forward 50, then you can stop them actually getting into their kick mark game. So I assume that he's in there to give them some aerial presence, clunk the few himself, because they haven't been marking the ball in their forward 50. And so Mycheck, who's a bit more of a roamer, I expect Cameron and Cox to probably be that down the line, deep into the forward 50 type targets and jump at it and see if they can clunk some, but certainly stop West Coast having an impact.
Hit the nail on the head.
How would you approach Jaden Stevenson? He looked in the last couple of weeks like a guy who's completely devoid of confidence, and I said to Matty Boyd this morning, it really is the art and science of coaching as to how you give him the confidence to perform tonight. What would you do, Don?
Well, it's difficult without knowing all the ins and outs of it all. Certainly, it looked last week like he was second-guessing himself. He was uncertain both around the ball and with the ball, and that's a hard thing because your confidence doesn't come from, it's not a tablespoon of confidence you take. You've actually got to go and work on your fundamental skills and things. So the work he would be doing in the last week would be to build himself up to the point where his confidence comes off his competency. And if he's doubting that, then it's a hard yard. It's a really hard to coach into that space. So look, you work with him, you probably remind him of the things he's good at doing,
and probably break it down and just give him some key focuses that if he does these things, he's going to be able to perform and do the things that the team requires of you. You don't have to do anything exceptional outside of that. Anything you do outside of this is great, but here's a few points that if you do this, you'll play a good game. And like you said, Don, during the week he would have been doing everything that he knows he does well, doing that so that he feels good about those kinds of things. Yeah. And then it just comes down to coming out and executing your, I suppose, focus points for the game.
And sometimes throughout a year, players just lose track of how good they are. And, he's a guy who was 2 years ago the NAB Rising Star. He's an outstanding talent, but he's probably questioning and doubting himself, which is natural for us as a sports person to go, well, I've had a lean run and can I do these things? And sometimes it's a matter of going back and going, hey, I'm watching some vision of me do this pretty well 15 months ago. I'm the same guy. I've just got away from that a little bit. So, again, it's easy to say, but it is part of the art and the science of going, well, how do I get this guy into a headspace where he can bring his very best for what the team needs on a big night. So great opportunity for him tonight. They stuck with him, which I think is fantastic, and it's over to him now to go, well, okay, can I be that player that I was maybe 18 months ago, and I still am, because he hasn't changed. He's just his form line's dropped a bit. So a great challenge for the young man tonight.
Has played some good finals footies as well, so that would have been being emphasised as well.
West Coast Eagles have made their way out onto the ground. Collingwood were out a few minutes before them. The Magpies wearing their away jump up. They've got the white shorts, so it's the black on the white rather than the other way around. West Coast, it is their home ground, their home game. They're in the blue and the gold wings with the blue shorts. I know you would have spoken about this when we go into full preview mode, but I just want to get a little bit more of your thoughts on the ruck battle. So influential last time they played. Brodie Grundy is a gun, but Nick Natanui was nothing short of spectacular last time they played each other. How do you see the Grundy-Natanui battle going tonight?
Well, I joked with you during the week Clint, but the best thing I ever did for Collingwood was getting traded so they could pick up Brodie Grundy. So all the Collingwood fans out there, you can thank me for that. So
That's your legacy, Sharon, wasn't it?
pick 16 or something, Brodie Grundy.
You just need a commission on his 7-year contract now, and you'd be all right.
We'd be laughing.
Pick what was it?
Pick 12.
Pick 12, was
So,
it?
yeah, I think Grundy was down on form from my memory during the game earlier in the season, but huge player for that for the midfield contest today. And I think with 150th, it's always good when you go out in the final and get to play a milestone game. I wouldn't be surprised if his pride's out there and he really wants to take it up to Nick No, who's the premier ruckman in the competition.
Yeah, it's a pivotal battle, Clint. There's no doubt. In the context of this game, that Nat Nui's influence both at the clearances, and we've seen it in recent weeks where he's basically had 4 or 5 clearances in a quarter at times and turned games on their head, and he was hugely influential getting West Coast over the line against St Kilda, a few weeks ago. So that battle in itself becomes massive on the impact of this result. Now, I think Grundy's form line hasn't been great. And it's an opportune night for him to stand up as a leader of the footy club and a guy who's playing his 150th to actually jump into a space and say, I'm going to lead this midfield group, which he's very capable of doing because he's an outstanding player. But to me, that's the one to really watch. That battle tonight's going to against a couple of really good midfielders, but those ruckmen will have such a big influence on the result.
I know this doesn't tell us everything about the battle, but funny, from round 8, they both had 24 hit-outs. Nat Nui had 3 clearances, Grundy 2. 8 possessions for Nick Nat Nui and 10 for Grundy. So at least judging by the raw numbers, relatively even on that night when West Coast dominated Collingwood and won by 66 points, kicking 18-3.
Yeah, but it's interesting on that night, they dominated in terms of the scoreboard, but the numbers, West Coast won the clearances, lost contested possession. They only had 37 inside 50s and yet kicked 18 goals. There wasn't areas they blew them away. They were just super efficient against a Collingwood team. I thought on that night their pressure, their tackling was nowhere near the level that they're capable of.
Tired and slow that night, didn't they?
That was their second week over here. I think they had a good win against Geelong, and they just never really got going. Early on they were solid, but then they just ran into a brick wall, and after a while West Coast was scoring with ease out of their back half. They scored 8 goals out of their back half.
Yeah. It was a remarkable run. I think they kicked, 13 straight at one stage and kicked 17 in the last 19 after Collingwood kicked the opening 2. But West Coast did have one of those nights where everything turned to gold. And you look at those statistics, Grundy up against Natanui. In terms of the raw numbers, they're fairly even. The difference was Natanui was putting it down the throat of his players every time, and they were converting them into goal-scoring opportunities, or indeed, on a few occasions, themselves onto goals. Both teams warming up downstairs. As always, if you want to get in touch, ask a question of Don or Sharad. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know where you're tuning in. 0437 774 774. The last question I was going to ask before we go into the preview was all about what do you do with Scott Pendlebury. I'm keen to get Don and Sharad's thoughts because we asked on Sports Talk Adam Simpson last week, one of the more revealing responses. Here's what he had to say when questioned by Mick Malthouse about how do you stop Pendlebury.
Side bottom out. Does it mean now that you redirect a tag at anyone else to see if you can limit that midfield, which is quite extensive? But it's not, again, with DeGoey could go through there, and we know that Alec goes through. Is there anyone there that you're going to target?
Well, last time we played, Pendlebury didn't play. He pulled out right before the game with a quaddie. And in the last month, I think the boys were telling me the other day that he's involved in 49% of all their scores. He's in the chain. So if you're going to go to anyone, you've probably got to go to Pendles. But that's not a secret. I think everyone knows how good he is. It's just what you're willing to give up. If you're going to tag someone, are you willing to give up a midfield spot for someone that might have a different focus? So yeah, we're working through that. Nothing's been decided, but Pendlebury's probably there, and Adams has had a tremendous year as well. So with these type of teams, I feel like it's the collective that gets you. But they've definitely got some individuals that are top-notch players.
They certainly do. So with no Mark Hutchings in the side for West Coast, they do have the likes of Redden coming back into the side, and Ainsworth kept his spot. What do you expect West Coast to do with the problem for the Eagles that is Scott Pendlebury?
Yeah, well, I think Simo mentioned it, but it's what do you give up at that stoppage to try and quell his influence? And he's 195 centimetre, 95 kilo. Is that about right? He's a huge midfielder, and so his influence at that contested side of things is going to be hard to quell. It's the same as Cripps. You can put a player on him, but he's still going to get his clearance and bring other players into the game. And that's what Pendlebury manages to do so well. So when Simo says what are they going to give up, who do they take out of the stoppage to put into a position that isn't how they'd like to structure up? And it becomes, if you do put someone like Pendlebury, I think he's still going to have enough of an influence on the game. He's that good of a player that it takes too much away from your structures that you're trying to do. Whereas someone, I know he's not playing tonight, but someone like Sidebottom, who is able to link up and get up and down the ground, his strength is getting up and down the ground, getting defensive and offensive ball. If you're able to sit someone on someone like that and stop their run and their ability to get to contest, that's more impactful than sitting on someone at a stoppage like the way Pendlebury does.
Officially 191 centimetres and 90 kilos, Scott Pendlebury.
I think with no Hutchings, and he's their obvious guy to do it, and him not coming up and not being in the side probably restricts West Coast a little bit. Ainsworth has done a little bit of it in recent weeks, so he'd probably be the guy they'll go to. Whether they start, they won't be surprised. I think they'll back in Kelly, Redden, Sheed, Shuey to sort of go head-to-head to start with, and then just have a watching brief on it and see whether or not he's the guy, as you said. But you could equally argue, I've seen Treloar rip games apart. Adams is dangerous as well, so it's two really high-quality midfields. You expect that at this time of the year, going head-to-head. It's going to be good to watch.
It was great to watch the game earlier. The Western Bulldogs and St Kilda, and the Saints with their first finals win since 2010 getting over the line. If only just, it was a thriller. St Kilda 10-7-67. The Western Bulldogs 9-10-64. Second year in a row that the Bulldogs go out in the first week of finals. So the first semi-final has been locked in. It will be Richmond up against St Kilda. Geelong wait to see. Will it be the West Coast Eagles or the Magpies that they'll be facing? Repeating, if you've just joined us on ABC Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital right around the nation. No late changes for West Coast versus Collingwood. Bounce down about 8 minutes away. We'll head to Bridget Lacey very shortly. But first, ahead of all of that, how will this game be won and lost? Sharad Wellingham, Don Pike, pick it apart for us on Grandstand AFL.
Well, you've got two teams that rely heavily on contested possession. You've got Collingwood as number 2 in that area. They're also a high possession handballing type team. So West Coasters need to going to keep massive pressure on and around the ball. Otherwise, the running players of Collingwood come into it. Collingwood like to short kick, handball, play on, get flow into their game, and have. Historically, they're a good team at scoring out of their front half. They don't score well out of their back half, as I said earlier, and therefore field position and getting it in is going to be important, but keeping it in is going to be more important.
Keeping it in is going to be massive, and so, the likes of the inside 50s, the Collingwood midfield, they can't kick it to the West Coast, zoning off defenders, and so coming in maybe with a little bit of dirty ball, we won't mind seeing from Collingwood. It'll be a more effective way of creating maybe a contest, because if there's a contest, the likes of De Goey, Dacos, Stevenson will come into the game, and then their I suppose, key targets will be putting on some pressure. But on the flip side, West Coast are super efficient when they go inside 50, scoring, I think over 50% of the time when they go in. So if they do manage to set up a damn wall and get some in-out-in plays, turning it over forward of centre, it's going to be really tough for Collingwood, as you mentioned, to turn the ball over and manage to find a way to transition from their D50 to the forward 50. And like you said, that's probably why they have brought in a Cameron to allow Myercheck and Cox to be those release options. You see in finals footy, it's a lot more kick to a contest. You have to win that contest. On the flip side of that, West Coast is the best contested marking team in the competition. So it's a flip of the coin.
Yeah, and you're right, Sher. I mean, West Coast is the most efficient, forward 50 team, and Collingwood in the last month's been the lowest, the least efficient. So you've got this real contrast. Now, Collingwood's going to need to take their opportunities. They're going to need to be quite deliberate with their ball use inside, knowing that the pressure of finals footy is still going to have those balls going along. And as you said, with Cameron and Cox down there, that's going to give them opportunity to get a contest and presence long, which is something De Goey and Stevenson and these guys can then feed off. So it's going to be you've got two really good stoppage teams, you've got two good strong ruckmen, so there's a lot set up.
Midfields.
The midfield, I'll be interested to see whether Collingwood start. The last couple of weeks they've started with an extra one up at the stoppage, which will give West Coast an extra defender. I'd be surprised if they do that. I think they'll want an equal game to start with and try and get it done on work rate.
So both teams coming towards the broadcast wing, the northern wing here at Perth Stadium. The Magpies to the right of our broadcast position. The Eagles just lining up now to the left. Let's take the Welcome to Country and the National Anthem.
Eagles and Collingwood. The AFL acknowledges the Noongar people, traditional owners of the land we gather on this evening, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. We acknowledge we play our great game on this land and respect the cultures of all First Peoples, their contribution to our nation and contribution to the game of Australian rules football. Traditional owner Oral Maguire Wajak Baladong Noongar will now perform the Welcome to Country.
Kaya, wanju, nunok ngan Europe jenang necha nunok yarin nyening necha nyunga boja. Necha boja wajak weirn barang. Hello and welcome to Nyunga country. This land is Wajak country. My people, the Wajak people, hold and our spirit holds this land as Wajak boja. Damanga mamangat weirn Europe jenang nunok necha nyening tarangin nganywangin necha Wajak boja. We call on the spirit of our grandmothers and our grandfathers to be with us here today on our tribal lands, the Nyunga nation of the Wajak clan. Nicha warlik bamin kulbari, nicha walbanin marn gruk yakaiva, nicha Wajak boja. Today, the West Coast Eagles will clash with the Collingwood Magpies here on Wajak country on Nyunga land. All the best, Yakai AFL.
Would you now please join the coaches, players and umpires as we stand for the Australian National Anthem.
Crowd of around 33,000 in. It's a spectacular sight, predominantly in blue and gold. The West Coast Eagles unbeaten at this stadium in 2020. They're 7 from 7. Can the Magpies cause a major upset? It's 5th up against 8th. Which way are you going, gents? Sharad Willingham, kick us off.
Oh, I'm going to go with the favourite. I think West Coast is going to be a little bit too strong.
Don?
West Coast by 15, but I'm expecting a strong contest from Collingwood. Very strong contest.
Ben Cameron?
I think West Coast by about 12. What about you, Clint?
Eagles fans should shudder because the whole box is tipping the West Coast Eagles. We know what always happens, and it's just started downstairs as well.
Scott Pendlebury and Collingwood have won the toss. He's elected to kick to the city end of the ground in the first term.
No greater mock than the whole grandstand team picking the one side. This looks enormous. The atmosphere is electric. It's a cliche, but it's absolutely fitting. And down amongst it, Bridget Lacey joins us, our boundary rider for this evening. G'day, Bridge.
Thanks, Clint. It is glorious down here. There's nothing like that sound when the anthem finishes in an AFL final. You better believe I was keeping my eyes trained on Scotty Pendlebury throughout that warm-up for Collingwood, and good news for Pies fans. He got through it fine. As you know, just took the toss, so he's right to go, unlike last time they were here when he pulled out with the quad. About 14 degrees, a blustery, strong breeze kind of swinging around the stadium, so it'll be interesting to see what, if any, impact that has throughout the game. The starting benches tonight, guys, for West Coast, Dom Shee, Jack Petruccelli, Tom Cole and Braden Ainsworth, and for the Pies, Adam Treloar, John Noble, Darcy Cameron and Chris Mayne.
And so for the season of West Coast and Collingwood, It all comes down to this. Great rivalries in recent times. They went head-to-head in a grand final that was one of the true epics just 2 seasons ago. And now they battle at Perth Stadium to see who lives and who dies in the season of 2020. Nick Natanui will face Brodie Grundy across the centre circles. This could be brilliant. Glad you could be with us on Grandstand AFL right around the nation. A massive roar. Ben Cameron to get us started.
It's win or go home. Do or die, the Eagles and the Pies. Grundy with the opening tap, straight down towards Shuey. Redden dribbles a kick forward. Chris chops it off, knocks it straight back to Shuey, loses it in the collision. Adams gets a kick away, partially smothered. Chris soccers it forward, gathered by Shepherd. Handball away to Gaff. Handball to Duggan, kicks the Eagles to the wing. In pursuit is Ryan. He fumbles, knocked towards the boundary line. He was taken high. He'll get a free kick. So Ryan to have it, neutral territory, southern wing. Early stages here at Perth Stadium.
Does look like Greenwood's gone immediately to Kelly as well, so one tag already going ahead.
Ryan elects to handball away to Nelson, who feeds a handball back to Ryan. Handball to Gaff. Handball to Ryan, who's run onto half forward. Loses it in a tackle. It trickles out. The umpire will spin it back in. The Eagles at right half forward. We've played 55 seconds on Grandstand AFL, the elimination final, the 4th game of week 1 of the AFL finals.
Luke Shuey standing next to Pendlebury as Natanui punches it forward for West Coast, heads straight towards the boundary line. They can't keep it in. Shuey closest to it for West Coast, throw in the decision.
Other key matchups, you've got Darling and Moore, Kennedy and Roughhead, Oscar Allen and Magsden down in the Eagles forward line.
Moore held Darling goalless last time they played. Thrown back in, neither Ruck got a telling tap, came to Gaff, got it onto Cripps, puts it inside forward 50, good spoil from Moore, but it comes straight back towards Ryan, tried to work it forward again, Archie over the top of the football, looking to emerge with it. Cripps was able to knock it out to Quaynor, now an opportunity to move it through Adams for Collingwood towards left half back. Shepherd tried to win it to ground. De Goey was there to mop up for the Magpies. Kicks down the southern wing. It's met by Duggan. Has some support, elects to go backwards and finds Barris, who marks it right half back for the Eagles. No score, opening 2 minutes.
Comes inboard to McGovern, back in the team from that hamstring injury. Dangerous kick into the middle of the ground. Quaynor hands to it. Cripps gets it for the Eagles. Bounces it to half forward. Allen, hand pass over the top to Ryan. Short towards Kennedy. Can't mark it, low down. Ricochets away. The Pies go in. Magden is in there. Kennedy goes again. Nobody can wrench it free yet. Adams eventually does. He's tackled immediately, taken to ground. And the umpire will ball it up about 25 metres out from the Eagles' attacking goal. The Farmer Freeway end in this first term. So no score as yet. Natanui and Grundy lock up. No decisive tap. Cripps taken down in a tackle. Adams comes away with it. Grundy able to shovel out a handball. Away to Greenwood, then Dacos. Moore a little fumble, leaves it behind, has to go back after it. Shuey knocks it to the top of the goal square. Natanui snaps and misses. Away to the right-hand side.
There's a hot ball early, isn't it? It's real hot.
Finals footy has arrived in the west. As Moore now with it for Collingwood, thumps it towards the southern wing. Mychek just keeps it in, does he? Not quite. He was right up against the boundary line, was able to drag it back in, but not before it had crossed. It'll be a throw-in just forward of centre wing for Collingwood.
Yep, so Greenwood versus Kelly, as you said, Shaz, looks like that's the one they're going to go with.
Natanui stands. Behind him is Grundy. Ball spun back to play. They lock arms. Natanui won it down. Ball bounces around. Gaff couldn't get rid of it. Now an opportunity for Greenwood. Kicks inside forward 50. No mark taken by Mychek. Spill down to Shepherd for the Eagles. Hurried kick. Bounce beyond defensive 50 by Duggan. Two Collingwood players collide. Greenwood went one way, Dacos the other. Allows Redden to pick it up. Kicks back towards the commentary wing. Unable to pick it up again was Crisp. Getting a hand pass away. Magden shed it with Moore. Got tackled. Eagles fans want holding the ball. Darling kicked into a pack. Came back to Gaff. Then to Darling again for West Coast. Kicks towards right half forward. Has the mark been paid? No for Ryan. Stolen away by Collingwood, and Dacos sends it towards Mychek. He can't mark. Taken by Duggan. It's frantic. On in turn again to Shepherd. Short pass. Too short to be anything to do for Redden. Moves it away again. Another opportunity to go forward for Collingwood. Inside forward 50. It bounces the way of Hearn, who gets a hand pass out to Duggan. Duggan from the right back pocket. Will he turn it over? Leaping to try to take the mark. And he's been given the free kick? No. It's going to be a throw-in. I thought Dacos might have been infringed. Instead, it's over the boundary for a throw-in. Bridget Lacey downstairs.
Yeah, Liam Ryan, just after that grubbered mark that it wasn't paid, he's just limping a bit. The physios have gone over to him on the ground, but he's trying to run it out.
Umpire spins it back in. Grundy down in front. Gathered by Pendlebury. Gets onto his left. Snaps the Pies inside attacking 50. Shepherd spoils it down to Goey coming through. Barris has it momentarily. Shepherd clears with the soccer. Picked up there and quickly cleared by Kelly to the wing for the Eagles, but the Pies will come back. Moore drives it long inside attacking 50. Off hands it comes down to Waterman for West Coast. Has time and space. Just relaxes, kicks across the face of goal and finds Hearn, who goes short to Redden. The Eagles with one minor score. Collingwood yet to score. We've played 5.5 in the opening term.
Important this little phase for Collingwood. Once they can get West Coast on a flank, they can stop them moving the ball with that kick mark game that they love so much.
Spoil from Moore in front of Darling. Punches it over the boundary line, just shy of centre wing for West Coast.
It's noticeable early, Collingwood's 6 forwards are pulling quite a long way back from the stoppage, fully engaging West Coast backs as well.
Natanui and Grundy again. Natanui took clean possession. Grundy took front position. Didn't quite read it. Natanui kicks down the outer wing. No mark taken. Maynard gathers. Picks it up on the logo. Kicks inside forward 50. Well read by McGovern. He's able to outmark his opponent in Myercheck, and he goes short for the Eagles and finds Redden. Marking it centre half back. He'll switch back to the left back pocket. Duggan marks. Looks to play on quickly. And he's able to find Ainsworth, who drops the mark. Hand pass to Duggan. He gets around Stevenson, who slipped over. Duggan runs to left half back. He's able to move it on to Cripps.
So Cripps will just play on. Runs to the logo. Kicks long inside attacking 50. Darling and Moore wrestling. Arriving Roughhead. Flicks it away to Crisp for the Pies. Goes for a little run. Along the arc. Gets around Natanui. Kicks into the middle of the ground. Overshoots the target. Duggan marks for the Eagles. Gives it off to Ainsworth. Pokes it inside 50. Darling's on the end of it. He marks 45 out. As good as directly in front.
Which is an unfortunate turnover there from Crisp. He did all the hard work.
Yeah, I was just trying to see who it was.
He won the ground ball, and he was just trying to spot up to Goey in the corridor, and you turn the ball over in that area, and, you know, obviously there's going to be 3 players ahead of the ball, so... But I like the intensity which Collingwood are going with at the moment. It looks to me like they're playing far more direct than the game I saw last week against Port Adelaide. They're trying to use their handball and go forward towards goal.
Yeah, their intention is to definitely keep the ball moving, but by foot.
Kicked a couple of goals against the Pies in round 8 this year. Trudges in, boot the ball from just beyond the arc. It's a good-looking kick. It goes right to the line. And the Eagles have the first of the night. The goal umpire says, I don't need a review. That's a goal. And the Eagles draw first blood. They're 1-1-7. Collingwood yet to score a 7-point lead through 7.5 minutes in the elimination final on Grandstand AFL. Clint Wilden, Ben Cameron in commentary, Don Pike and Sharad Wellingham with all of the analysis.
It wasn't quite an in-out in-play, but it was still a turnover forward of centre, and that's what West Coast are really going to be preying on. Well, not preying on, but that's going to be their MO tonight.
Well, that's important. You can see Collingwood's, you know, with their forwards now, they're setting up at those stoppages, trying to engage their backs, and they're clearly trying to, when they're moving the ball with speed, get deep and get that field position. And if they can do that and then stop West Coast uncontested mark chains, that gives them the best chance to win the game. So they've come with a clear plan here, Collingwood. Now it's down to whether they can execute it. Yeah,
and great finish by Jack Darling. I think Josh Kennedy being slightly underdone, a little bit of a question mark. I know he's out there, but huge opportunity for Darling to stand himself on a final.
Yep, definitely.
So it'll be Cameron against Allen. The 2 backup rucks. Cameron wins it down for Collingwood, straight to Pendlebury. They got a free kick here. Cameron was taken high. Pendlebury takes the advantage. Plays on, inside forward 50, running and marking. He leapt up into the air, Shannon Hearn, the former captain for West Coast. Fires the hand pass to Shepherd. He'll steer it towards Barris, marking in the right back pocket. Goes to Cole, marks it right half back for West Coast. They lead 7 points to nothing on the scoreboard. Kicks to Duggan, about a metre in from the boundary. More steady play here from the Eagles as they look to build up. Duggan with the left. Kicks towards right half forward. Ryan flew front position, though, was Cameron. And he's able to drag in the mark. Back of about 5. Cameron turns around, thought about going back inside his defensive 50. Instead, puts Collingwood back down the outer wing. No mark taken as Cox went out after it. Spilled down to Treloar. Puts the Magpies into the left forward pocket. McGovern will get to the bouncing footy first. Hand passes away from Mychek. Gave it to Duggan. Back again to McGovern, who then steps under pressure from Pendlebury over the boundary line. And they have called it deliberate. Well, he didn't have anything else to do. That's what he was trying to get away with. And the kick is inbound. And Cox goes up. And he marks right in front of goal. And the Eagles fans will be filthy. Having a look at the replay, McGovern has had it. He's moved his arms out of the way and stepped over the boundary line. How do you read it, gentlemen?
Oh, was it for deliberate?
Or was it for kicking?
Or was it...
It's deliberate. The call was deliberate.
But he had pressure.
And he was nearly being tackled as he came across the line. I'm not sure what else he was supposed to do in that situation.
Mason Cox in front. He kicks the goal for Collingwood. The big American brings them to within a point. 1-1-7 to 1 straight 6. 10 gone in the first. It is that interesting one, isn't it? He has walked over. It is deliberate, but there was pressure. So what are you supposed to do?
It's like the complete opposite of when a player has prior opportunity and they tackle them over the boundary line because they test the tackle and they don't pay holding the ball. And I reckon that's even worse.
Yeah, that's...
I don't quite understand that, but...
If you're Collingwood, you'd take it and you'd put it on the board and say that's a bit of a freebie. So
great mark by Cox. I think contested mark. Cox has done reasonably. I remember
and with that,
great final he played against Richmond a couple of years ago.
Absolutely tore Richmond apart.
Dominated the forward 50 that night. So
2018 preliminary final, the MCG. Yeah.
He's 12-2 this year as well. Mason Cox, he was goalless last week.
I mean, it was good play from Pendlebury. He had the free kick and he just saw there was a bit of a mismatch on height and kicked it just slightly to his advantage, and Cox did the rest.
So Cameron into the ruck, opposed to Natanui, jumps a little early. Natanui takes it out of the ruck, kicks the Eagles to half forward. Archie goes up, drops the mark. Petruccelli spins in a tackle. Handball out towards Ryan, slaps it on. Then Archie knocks it out. Gaff comes through. He can't gather. Hot footy again at half forward. Treloar picks it up. Handball away to Dacos. Runs back inside his defensive 50. Floats a kick onto the chest of Stevenson. He goes with a sweeping hand pass to Elliott at half forward. Runs towards the wing. Kicks in the direction of Hoskin Elliott, who marks close to the boundary line at left half forward. Right on the arc of 50. He looks inside a congested 50.
So he'll kick. Cox again is a man mountain and he's able to drag it in. At left full forward, Mason Cox. Goodness me. There's stunned silence.
Some good early bodywork by Cox there. Just got under McGovern's hip.
And that's something we've seen a lot of him coming and jumping the ball, but that occasion he just really nudged McGovern out of it.
And that's usually you see McGovern getting that early contact and owning the space, but really good bodywork by Cox there.
Looking to kick back-to-back goals for the Magpies. He does just that. From a very tight angle at left full forward, he's put Collingwood in front, the American. They're 2 straight 12. West Coast 1-1-7. 13 minutes gone in the opening term of the elimination final at Perth Stadium.
This is their game plan.
Yeah, once again, they've turned the ball over here just outside the D50. It was probably a little bit fortuitous, the kick from Dacos to hit Stevenson, but from there was no other intention to take the ball forward, and they're attacking hard. A little bit handball, forward handball, connect out wide, and then a deep entry and a great mark from Cox. So, as I said before, there's a clear plan here Collingwood are working on, and it'll be interesting to see because West Coast is going to have to adapt to this, and it's going to be important they keep their pressure up forward of the ball, Collingwood, and they keep their contest up because otherwise the West Coast backs will come into it.
He was just playing up to the West Coast Eagles supporters behind the goal at the City end as well, saying, make a little bit of noise. What else have you got to say to me? Loves the big stage, the big American. Grundy back in the ruck in the middle.
Just loves the stage, I think.
Natanui moves around. Nat Nui palms it down, but Adams coming through. Gets a handball away. Treloar soccers to half forward for Collingwood. And there's a free kick. It's going to come back. It'll go to Treloar. So taken below the knees, according to the umpire. Redden going in low.
Almost soccering in danger as well there.
Yeah.
So Treloar.
50-50 for mine, but...
Alongside the centre circles. Kicks towards Cox again. He's got it once more. Coxzilla, as he was given the moniker. He's marked 25 metres out, a 30-degree angle. And he could kick a third first quarter goal. Mason Cox.
Again, some really strong bodywork against Barras this time.
Comes in, gun barrel straight. Mason Cox has kicked 3 goals in the first term. And the Pies lead by 11 points. They're 3 straight 18. The West Coast Eagles 117. Quarter hour mark, first term on Grandstand AFL. And again, he says to the Eagles fans, make a little bit of noise.
There's a fair chance they're not going to make much noise for him. I would have thought that's wishful thinking, but he's certainly up and about, Mason Cox, isn't he, Shaz?
He certainly is. But as you said, it's not quite what we're used to seeing. I mean, that was still a little bit on the move, but it was early bodywork and strong bodywork. Checked Tommy Barras's...
Yeah, and it's his intent going at the ball. He's going at the ball with serious intent. He's not wishy-washy, can I, can't I. He's actually imposing himself on this game, and important for those tall forwards they do, and he stood up in the first quarter.
Told them all to shush too after he kicked the goal. Mason Cox, shades of that preliminary final at the MCG where he tore the heart out of the Tigers.
Pacing in the goal square as well.
He is like a caged animal. What a beast he's been tonight so far. Natanui wins it down beautifully to Redden. Kicks quickly inside forward 50. Can't find Darling. Moore's able to knock it away from him. Collingwood through Crisp. Head to the southern wing. The kick is marked by Elliott on the run. Pops a hand pass over the top to Treloar. Wonderful play. Moves it to Thomas. Towards Stevenson, who slides out. The mark has been paid. Not sure if he held it long enough. The umpires thought he had.
Where's Cox? It's coming.
Have a look for him. It's going in his direction again. Not quite this time. Hits the ground off the pack. Spills out Thomas's direction. Trying to emerge with it. Duggan for the Eagles. Hand passes back to Gaff, and he'll give it to Redden, who's at left full back.
He gives it off to Hearn, who kicks a low ball towards Ryan. He comes up and marks it left half back. He then wants to chip it short to a leading Kennedy. A long way up the ground, a long way from home. He comes inboard. Jackson Nelson marks. Collingwood 3 straight 18. The Eagles 117. Mason Cox with 3 first-term goals for the Pies as Nelson goes short to Shuey, who comes back inboard to Nelson. Still at left half back. He takes the grass in front of him. Kicks towards half forward. Allen goes up. Roughhead there too. Hands on it. Roughhead. Crisp Roves. Handball away to Roughhead. Handball to Madgen. Now Treloar on the logo for the Pies. Handball to Pendlebury. Handball away to Adams. He looks up inside 50. Kicks towards the goal square. McGovern comes across.
That's where they've got it. They've got to use Cox on the lead there because McGovern, as smart as he was too quick to zone off and take that intercept mark.
It's just a little 15-metre chip, wasn't it, to Cox once.
Who had done a really good tick lead.
Yeah. Oh, Waterman's pass was meant to Ainsworth at right half back. He had the stretch, couldn't mark. Ball has been locked in by Main. It's going to be a free kick. Main's been taken high, or maybe the push in the back. It's against Waterman. So Main will have it, about 70 from goal, and he'll head in the direction of Cox once more. Mason gets a hand to it, can't quite mark, spills out to Elliott, hand pass into the leg of Redden. He'll emerge with it a second time. It's spilled to Pendlebury, threw it on the boot. Natanui knocked it down, went back and gathered again. Hand pass bounced in front of Duggan at right full back. Kicks the Eagles beyond defensive 50, but marked by Adams. And was he knocked after he took the mark? He's been told to get up and he'll get 50 as well, will he? A little bit of push and shove afterwards. It's against Oscar Allen. The mark's paid. Allen sticks out the left hand and makes contact to the face of Adams, who makes the most of it. But the contact was there and it was unnecessary from Allen. So Adams will go to the top of the goal square and he will be able to throw it over.
Well, this game's being played exactly the way Collingwood want now, and their pressure is outstanding, and they're forcing the issue for West Coast at every turn.
It's his 150th game, and he kicks a goal in his milestone match. Taylor Adams. It's all Collingwood at Perth Stadium. They are stunning the West Coast Eagles. 4 straight 24. They've kicked 4 unanswered goals. West Coast 1-1-7 as we hit the 20-minute mark of the opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Well, shows they're winning the field position battle at the moment.
They are.
It's 13-6 inside 50s. Their pressure around the ball is outstanding. They're out tackling West Coast. And
the ball movement, they're still handballing, but it's a forward handball that's bringing in another player instead of the transfer or the pressure that we have seen from it. It's a constructive handball.
Yeah, their power. They're going at the game, and they're asking the West Coast to really defend them. And at the moment, those handball chains are creating opportunities ahead of the ball. So, and just a silly error there from Oscar Allen. It was unnecessary.
Silly error. He wasn't even looking.
Nah.
For those listeners, he had his arm up, just kind of looked away from Taylor Adams and definitely clocked him across the head. So, unfortunate.
I know that goal wasn't the result of it, but the plans to go long inside attacking 50 against this Eagles defence, and it's working. It's quite incredible so far as Collingwood get the clearance again through Pendlebury. Tumbles it to half forward. De Goey overruns it. Quick little pick up from Thomas. Now Dacos has to gather at half forward. Looks inside 50. Hooks it back, trying to get it towards Cox. Redden can't take the mark. He was clattered into. No free kick. Thomas handball to Main. Greenwood snaps. His kick smothered, ricochets away. Gaff able to get a handball away to Ainsworth for the Eagles. And then Hearn, a low ball, and it's fisted into the crowd by Noble. And a boundary throw in at left half forward for the Pies. Downstairs, Bridget Lacey.
Mason Cox and Brad Shepherd both the worst for you after that big marking contest in the forward line. The trainer's just heading out to Shepherd now, but Mason Cox looks to have shaken it off.
Collingwood by 17 points. 21 and a half minutes into this opening term.
Great smother too from Barris on the Greenwood kick. It was headed goal bound. One down by Natanui, had front position. Kelly's able to get there, gets tackled, just got a hand pass out. Grundy scoops it up. Looked like a throw to Maynard, it was. West Coast fans register their delight at getting a free kick. The kick will be taken quickly. Came from Cripps towards right half forward. Darling! He marks right on the 50, about 5 metres in from the boundary at right half forward. So much you feel rests on this kick from Jack Darling. 25-8 from set shots this season. Kick the Eagles first. He'll be putting boots a ball from pretty much right on 50. Starts the approach. From 51 out, kicks on its way. It was always narrow. He misses to the right. A minor score. West Coast 1-2-8. Collingwood 4 straight 24. 22 gone in the first. Grandstand AFL from Perth Stadium.
So Maynard with the kick-in duties. He finds Dacos.
No real involvement from West Coast mids at the moment. Kelly, Shuey and Sheet have had 2 possessions between them so far.
Dacos goes short towards Greenwood. Shuey able to spoil it. He impeded. It'll be a free kick to Levi Greenwood. Came back from his knee injury at the start of the year. Kicks dangerously inside defensive 50. Gets to Roughhead as Darling was closing. Handball to Quaynor for the Pies. He kicks out towards the wing. Going up Main. He can't mark. McGovern spoils it out of play. A boundary throw in. Neutral territory on the wing.
On the other side of the coin, Collingwood midfielders Pendlebury, Treloar and Adams have had 18 between them.
16 points. Collingwood's lead. The Eagles kick the first through Darling. Cox kicked the next 3. Then Taylor Adams. Umpire spins it back in. Natanui brings it down in front. Sheed goes on top of the footy. Eventually it jars free. Natanui soccers it on. Cripps burrows in over the footy. Crisp tries to get it out. Cripps and Crisp. There you go. As going in again is Crisp. Greenwood over the top of it. In the end, it's not coming out. We'll get a ball up. 16 points. Collingwood's lead. 4 straight. Plays 1-2. Almost quarter time.
Holding decision going Natanui's way against Grundy. He'll have it at right half forward for West Coast. Looks to put the Eagles back inside forward 50. Big pack underneath it. Quaynor was there and a good mark to Crisp. Actually would have felt the contact from Quaynor as it dropped towards him. Marked well above his head. Goes short back to Maynard and then moves it on to Madgen under pressure. Kicks Collingwood beyond defensive 50. Punched down by Waterman. Runs out after it. Collides into his opponent. Hits the deck as well. Ball's pinballed out to Dacos. Dacos for Collingwood. Kicks towards Cox. Stretches, can't mark on the commentary wing. Hearn scooped it up. Gave it to Gaff. Now to Barris. Kicks around the body. Back towards left half forward for the Eagles. Chris came at the flight. Again brought it to ground. Tapped it in the direction of a teammate and then got bumped very solidly by Kelly. It was Adams underneath all of that. And the locals aren't happy. Be it from some questionable umpiring decisions or the performance of their team. Collingwood, what a start for the visitors. The Magpies are 4 straight 24 to the Eagles 1-2-8 in the first elimination final. The goals, 3 of them to the American Mason Cox. The other to Taylor Adams for the Magpies, while West Coast's sole goal, and remember they kicked the first of the evening, came from the boot of Jack Darling. Collingwood at quarter time, 4 straight 24 to West Coast 1-2-8. The Magpies by 16 points. Wherever you're listening on ABC Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital, this is Grandstand AFL.
In a world of uncertainty, it's more important than ever to stay connected.
Congratulations to the ABC. Once again, outstanding reporting.
We're with you for breaking news.
The number of cases we're seeing emerge every day, there's definitely been a decline.
The Aussie spirit can't be broken.
Were there a few drinks involved during the Zoom session?
No, there were lots of cups of tea.
Stay home, stay safe, stay informed with Australia's most trusted news source. ABC News. We're with you. The 2020 AFL Finals Series.
On ABC Radio and on Grandstand Digital.
Duggan marks for the Eagles. Gives it off to Ainsworth. Pokes it inside 50. Darling's on the end of it. He marks 45 out. As good as directly in front. Trudges in. Boot the ball from just beyond the arc. It's a good-looking kick. It goes right to the line. And the Eagles have the first of the night.
Duggan back again to McGovern, who then steps under pressure from Pendlebury over the boundary line, and they call it deliberate. Well, he didn't have anything else to do. That's what he was trying to get away with, and the kick is inbound, and Cox goes up, and he marks right in front of goal. And the Eagles fans will be filthy. Mason Cox in front. He kicks the goal for Collingwood.
Hoskin Elliott, who marks close to the boundary line at left half forward, right on the arc of 50. He looks inside a congested 50.
So he'll kick. Cox again is a man mountain and he's able to drag it in at left full forward. Looking to kick back-to-back goals for the Magpies. He does just that. From a very tight angle at left full forward.
So Treloar
50-50 for mine, but
alongside the centre circles, kicks towards Cox again. He's got it once more. Comes in, gun barrel straight. Mason Cox has kicked 3 goals in the first term.
The 2020 AFL Finals Series.
On ABC Radio and on Grandstand Digital.
Earlier today, the Saints stayed alive, eliminating the Western Bulldogs with a 3-point win at the Gabba, 10-7-67 to the Bulldogs, 9-10-64. Quarter time at Perth Stadium in the other elimination final, Collingwood 4 straight 24 to the Eagles 1-2-8. Before we hear from Don Pike and Sharrod Wellingham, let's quickly head downstairs. Bridget Lacey.
Yeah, Jake Waterman was very dazed at the end of that quarter after that confrontation at half forward with Jared Ruffhead. He had a long chat to the doc, but then split to the forwards to have a chat with the coaches, so he seems fine. Brad Shepherd did stay out there after that big collision in the forward line as well for Collingwood, so he's okay too. I was a little bit intrigued by Liam Ryan. We know he was limping early in the game and the doctors headed out and had a long chat to him. Then when he came to the bench, the doc continued to chat to him pretty much for his whole time while he was there, but he looked pretty disinterested by the whole conversation and he looks to be moving well, so he seems to be okay for West Coast fans.
Thank you, Bridget. It's been a game framed by the 211centimetre frame of Mason Cox. It hasn't been Freemason as such, but he's been winning the contested ones.
He's on his way to 12 goals. Is that what you're thinking, Clint? He's got 3 in the first. It's multiplied by 4 and he'll get there.
Well, if David Roden was down that end, I might be thinking that.
Correct. It's always a chance. But what we've seen is Collingwood come, as we said in the call, they've come with a clear plan. What I've loved about their game, Showed, and you mentioned it during the call, is that their handball use, whereas last week it was going around and around and transferring the pressure, now it's going with energy and power towards goal. Whether it's Cameron down there or whether it's just deliberate, they actually feel like they're engaging the West Coast backs and they're prepared to kick it long and deep.
Yeah, and I think that has come about because they've got confidence to hold their forwards really quite deep, which is making the West Coast defenders hold deep, which is opening up this really big space kind of between the centre of the ground and about 50 to 60, or 40 to 50 out.
Yeah.
So there's this big open space, and they've transitioned probably 2 or 3 times from the defensive 50 or defensive half all the way to the forward 50, which they haven't been able to do very well.
No, and you're right. The space they're creating in there is allowing Treloar, is allowing Thomas, is allowing Elliott at times we've seen get into that space. And so the question they're asking,
play that we haven't
they're
really
asking
seen.
the West Coast midfielders, are you going to be prepared to run hard defensively with us? Because if you don't, and we start forward handballing, you're going to be one-on-one with our key tall forwards, and the ball's coming in there quick, and backlines don't like that.
No, because it forces the backline into a position where they have to make a decision if they press the player coming at them, and if they do, then it's a simple loose player who's going to be in the forward 50. So It's a really tough decision that the West Coast defenders have to make.
And to Collingwood's credit, they brought great energy, they brought great pressure, and they forced West Coast to not be able to play the game they want, and really they've got on top in the midfield battle. But what I will say is West Coast have been here before. Last time they played, they kicked 4 in the first quarter. The grand final, they were 5 down just leading the quarter time. So there'll be no panic stations from West Coast. They will just now go, right, we need to get back to winning our share, putting a bit more pressure around the ball, and really trying to shut down some of those Collingwood forays.
And also the West Coast players, it's really hard to recognise. Sometimes can be hard to recognise what the opposition is trying to do. So it might just take the coaches come down and say, look, this is what they're trying to do. West Coast defenders, let's play a little bit more aggressive. Let's play in front and own a little bit more of a field position.
Some of the numbers, West Coast have had 80 disposals, Collingwood 71, kicking efficiency, Collingwood 63%, West Coast 61. Contested possessions, Collingwood +7, tackles 16 to 13 the way of the Pies. The clearances, the Eagles lead 8-5. Inside 50s, Collingwood well ahead 14 to 8. Leading ball winners, Liam Duggan has had a lot of it off halfback, 12 disposals. Andrew Gaff with 8, the next best for the Eagles. For the Pies, Josh Dacos has been busy with 9. Taylor Adams and Scott Pendlebury both with 7.
Apologies for the in-joke, by the way, if you weren't listening a couple of games ago here at Perth Stadium. Whatever end of the ground David Roden, the goal umpire, happened to be at was where all the goals were being kicked. It was quite remarkable. There was no correlation, but it was amusing from where we were sitting. What's not amusing for West Coast supporters is that they're trailing by 16 points. How do they go about dragging their way back into this game? As Mason Cox, 1 sock up, that's the right, 1 sock down, strides back into his attacking goal square.
It is interesting. Sometimes the past is prologue. Round 8 here at this very venue, Collingwood and West Coast. Collingwood did lead by 14 points at quarter time. The West Coast Eagles then went on that monumental streak and were able to win by 66 points. So whether tonight plays out differently, we'll find out over the next 3 quarters.
It takes something remarkable to see the Eagles kick 17 of the final 19 goals. Can they do it? Will the Magpies continue to stretch this league? Second term about to get underway. Here's Ben Cameron with you.
So Nat Nui and Grundy again. Grundy palms it down. Kelly comes out of the middle for the Eagles. Kicks towards full forward. Kennedy on the lead. He marks out in front. 35 metres out, a 30-degree angle right of centre.
Just the start they wanted.
It's the start they wanted, but it's also more like the West Coast that we saw last time these two played, when it was just clinical inside 50s and clean marks from Kennedy and Darling.
And that's, again, we talk about Nat Nui's influence and Kelly and co. That's why they're the number 1 team in the comp for scoring out of centre bounce, because of that exact sort of connection and movement out of the forward half.
It's pretty special touch, but it was only Kelly's second touch.
For a dream start in this second term, Josh Kennedy hands it to the Eagles. He kicks the set shot goal, and they get their second of the evening. They're 2-2-14. Collingwood a 4 straight 24. A 10-point lead to the Pies 1 minute into this second term on Grandstand AFL.
It is such such a benefit for the West Coast midfield to be able to set up as they do, and I suppose play as an aggressive exiting strategy from that centre bounce.
And that would have been the message at quarter time to the midfielders. Like the quality of Shuey, Kelly, Sheed and Co in there, they're not going to play like that the whole game. We saw it last night with Lockie Neal, who worked his way into the game. So they would be saying, let's get proactive, let's get moving, let's get to work, and start to respond to what was a good quarter from the Collingwood mids.
Interesting, he's been, I'm not sure whether you drink or eat it, but taking Liam Ryan's auntie's emu oil, which is a natural healer, we're told, to heal that injured ankle during the week.
I think you rub it on, don't you?
Yeah, you rub it on.
Oh,
I'm not sure you're going to drink
rub it on.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure you're drinking emu oil, but anyway.
There you go.
I'm not sure where you're going with that, Ben.
It on.
Nothing like a bit of bush medicine seems to be working for him. Certainly worked for Liam Ryan when he had a few niggles last year too. As from the centre bounce, the Eagles look the win away again. She couldn't take it cleanly. It's going to be held in towards him. A couple of Magpies lock it in. One was Crisp, the other Adams. Ball up the decision. Forward of the two centre circles for the West Coast Eagles. They're heading to the city end of Perth Stadium in this quarter. Natanui punches it forward. Crisp intersects. Gives it off towards Main. Then Maynard's kick was smothered. Trying to knock it back across half back for the Magpies. Players are going to pile in here. Umpire circles. Eagles fans want holding the ball and they get it. Adams protests that he had no chance to get rid of it. Natanui, one of the players, locking it in. So from the holding the ball decision, Natanui puts it towards full forward. Daly underneath it. Moore punched it back into the corridor. Maynard was there for the Magpies. Got bumped over. Got it away towards Crisp. Under real pressure. Not a great pass. Cripps intercepts. Then gives it off again to Duggan. Kicks it back towards full forward. There's 4 Magpies to 1 Eagle, but they can't take the mark. And they tap it away, and eventually there's a free kick spotted. It's going to come right back to Grundy. And he'll have it at full back.
You made the call. It was Ryan on Maynard. It was almost reminiscent of the grand final hit. Arms up and just a big shirt front by Liam Ryan.
Grundy goes short to Moore in the pocket. Recognised with an all-Australian blazer. He kicks across the face of goal to the left-back pocket. And Madgen, there was an emergency in both of the finals for the Pies last year. Madgen is a little bereft. Eventually he kicks beyond defensive 50 towards the contest. Main and Myercheck there. Myercheck juggles Natanui, knocks it down. Duggan gets it again. He's had a heap early. Shuey's kick smothered after receiving the handball. He then gives it away. Main able to get it. Stevenson for the Pies kicks them forward of the wing, and Myercheck takes a nice mark, gives it off to Treloar, who goes short.
Treloar spots a target at centre half forward. Hoskin Elliott hand passes off to Adams and spears the pass to Dacos. Dacos will pop it into the right forward pocket. Elliott waited, couldn't mark. Spoil came from Barris. Out into the right forward pocket again, and then Hearn gives away the free kick, taking Noble high. I thought Collingwood had overworked that for a moment, the last pass. But in the end, they get the free kick, and Noble will go back and have a shot from about 48 out, a couple of metres in from the boundary in the right forward pocket.
Not sure that Dacos' pass just wasn't needed. He was within shooting range, and it had been a really effective piece of ball movement. But great work from Barras to press that and actually spoil it.
So Noble runs in, kicks on its way. Goal umpire has to walk across and then steadies and sees it fly over the top of their cap. That is a wonderful finish with almost no daylight to look at. A wonderful kick. And they've got themselves another. Collingwood with their 5th. 5 straight 30 they lead. The West Coast Eagles 2-2-14. 5 gone in the second term. What a finish. Just his second career goal. That was something special.
And Collingwood would be really encouraged. I mean, West Coast have certainly raised their level in this second quarter. It's obvious that they've sort of got the feedback at quarter time and they've come out with more energy. But Collingwood would be really pleased with the fact they're scoring off transition, which they've struggled to do in recent times. And 4 of their goals tonight already have come from just transitioning the ball, which
and their intention is to move it quickly.
Correct. The handball there that Myercheck releases inside just allows the ball to keep flowing and just means that the West Coast defence can't get organised.
Not sure how he had to be picked up in the mid-season draft, John Noble. He's a good runner, a good kick. He was taken by the Pies in the middle of last year, 23 years of age. The son of David Noble. He debuted at this ground against the Eagles in round 19 last year. Back in the middle, Allen and Cameron in the ruck. With the clearance, the Eagles. Archie picks it up, sells some candy. Handball away to Kelly. He kicks towards full forward. Kennedy rids himself of Roughhead and marks. 15 out, slide angle right of centre. And Kennedy will try and kick his second and give the Eagles the instant reply. A short run up for Josh Kennedy. Just a handful of steps and pops it through. His second. And the Eagles do answer right back. They're 3-2-20. Collingwood a 5 straight 30. Back to 10 points here on Grandstand AFL. Don Pike and Sharrod Wellingham.
Some just direct footy from Kelly there. Kelly to Kennedy again, but great attack on the ball from Archie. Took the tacklers on and he was the player who set up Kelly in that position to put in a nice deep inside 50.
Yeah, and again out of a centre bounce, and Kennedy, who kicked 7 straight, if you remember last time the two teams met, he's now got 2 this quarter, and they don't want that that train rolling, Collingwood. They want to shut that down pretty quickly.
I think in every final that Kennedy's played, if they've kicked 3, they've won, so only one more. They win.
That's interesting logic, Sharrod, but we can work with it.
Not sure what to say to that.
Well, it's like the stat with Tip and Woody that was going around. If he kicked a goal, they won. He had to kick 1, and they won like 90% of his games. If he kicked a goal, I thought, just get it to him early and we're good.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Confidence from that.
The old days of Q&A, Tony Jones would said, I'll take that as a comment. Winning it down was Cameron. Good tackle from Shuey. Just wrapped up the go. He brought him to ground. No prior, according to the officials, will ball it up. Allen and Cameron again. Oh, I thought locked the arms of Cameron. They let it play on. It comes out towards Collingwood's Treloar. Kicks the Magpies towards right half forward. Mychek got worked underneath the foot. He got hands to it. Couldn't mark. Bounces to Allen of the Eagles. In the middle of the ground to Archie. Runs through the centre circles. Just gets the kick away. Almost run down. But he's able to find Ryan who marks. And Liam Ryan, he's about 70 from goal. Kicks high towards full forward. Darling underneath it. Couldn't mark. Got the hand pass away though. It's spilled to Ainsworth who snaps and goes. The 21-year-old brings the Eagles house alight. West Coast, they move back to within 4 points of the Magpies. Collingwood a 5 straight 30. West Coast 4-2-26. 8 and a bit gone in the second term on Grandstand AFL. Our experts Don Pike and Sharrod Wellingham.
Good little, great mark by them, Ryan, with Maynard right on his hammer, and I think there's a little bit of byplay going on between those two, because a nice little hangout of the ball from right in front of Maynard, and a good kick to the advantage of Darling from Ryan. So,
and again, this is highlighting West Coast strengths. You've got Ryan, Kennedy and Darling, who are very, very good one-on-one players. They get the ball in there with speed, and you can just see the Collingwood defenders getting a bit edgy, and Darling sets that up with a great contest and a ground ball that he wins and flicks off to Ainsworth. So they're starting to get rolling, West Coast. They're certainly right back in this.
Does that go back to the grand final of 2018? Maynard
that's what I mean. Did you see the shoulder 5 seconds ago?
I also wondered whether or not he should have got a free kick in that play that ended up seeing Sheed kick the winning goal. There was a bit of byplay there.
Yeah, back in the middle, Grundy wins the tap. Shuey gets it, snaps the Eagles to half forward. Bouncing ball, Pendlebury arrives. Crisp taken in a tackle. Gets a handball away. Grundy picks it up. Handball to the logo. Socket on by Adams, who paddles to his own advantage. Handball to Pendlebury for the Pies. De Goey kicks them inside, attacking 50. Low chaos ball picked up by Barris. Back feeds a handball to Cole for the Eagles. He kicks short, and Waterman's able to mark on the defensive arc at right half back for West Coast. 4 points the Pies lead. We've played 10 minutes and change in the second term.
Waterman beyond defensive 50. Kicks to a big pack on the commentary wing. Mort won it down. Taken by Kelly. Hit it at pace. Dragged it in. Popped the hand past to Petruccelli. On the run. Now to Cripps. Takes a bounce at right half forward. Kicks the Eagles towards right. Full forward. Had too much on it. Oh, lucky bounce. Ainsworth was there. Gathered. And then got tackled over the line. It'll be a free kick. It's going the way of West Coast. It's against Dacos in the tackle.
Was it for a sling tackle, was it? Or
must be.
A dangerous tackle? Yeah.
Maynard's just come from the ground with Something not right with his
Pop the finger on it. Yeah.
So can Ainsworth kick back-to-back goals? Not with that. It's across the face. Will it stay in play? It has. And it's been marked at left full forward. No, not quite. The ball was in the hands of Darling, but he's given away the free kick. It's going the way of Darcy Moore, so he'll have it at right full-back. I'm still unsure about the free kick Collingwood gave away a moment ago as Moore goes across the face of goal towards left full-back, or left half-back, and then Waterman sees it over the boundary line for a throw-in. Bridget Lacey's downstairs.
Yeah, as Jared mentioned, Braden Maynard put his hand straight up and came straight to the bench. That left hand, the Docs are working on it now.
Had a finger at an angle that it shouldn't go. Just been popped back in and straightened up. Nat Nui slaps it forward for the Eagles. She dribbles it inside, attacking 50. Quaynor's there, gets a handball away to Madgen. Handball to Crisp for the Pies. Runs into trouble. Archie's taken him to ground. Ball jars free, but holding it. The free kick is paid. So Archie will have it. The man on the mark. 50 out as Archie sets it up to the pocket. And the Pies are there. Madgen able to take the intercept mark. So a waste going inside 50 that time for the West Coast Eagles. The Pies by 4 points.
Madgen beyond defensive 50. Carried the pack at left half back. Trying to knock it along the boundary line. He had one go at it here, Cameron. Was able to, DeGoey rather. Then picked it up and popped it over the top. Trying to pick it up now is Elliott. Is he taking it over the line? Now that should be, if there's any consistency, deliberate, but it's not. And the West Coast fans are up and about. Again, there was someone right there. There was pressure on the player. The player in possession of the ball walks over the line. That's a throw-in. Fascinating. Thrown in again at the back. Petrocelli of the Ruck contest is able to pick it up. It's been locked in.
The interesting thing there, though, I think Collingwood were on a fast break, and it was in Elliott's interest to keep it in, whereas the boundary is the friend of the defenders.
Grundy wins it down. Shuey's out after it. Can't take it cleanly. Pendlebury does. Goes back by hand for the Magpies to Crisp. Gets a kick away inside forward 50. Nelson front position of a line of 3. Behind him was Elliott. Cole lends some assistance. They see it over the line here, West Coast.
Creeping it forward here, Colin. The ball's sort of lived in West Coast forward 50 for a long period of this quarter, so we welcome this respite in the forward 50 for themselves.
The Rucks have a little wrestle, no free kick. Ball bounces to Sheed, who snaps towards the wing. Stevenson's there for the Pies. Marks and plays on. Looks inside 50. Goes long to full forward. Cameron's there. He can't take the mark. Coming through Duggan, picks it up. He's taken to turf in a strong tackle. The umpire circles and says, let me ball it up. 15 metres out from the Pies goal. They lead by 4 points. We've played 14 minutes in this second term. Nat Nui and Grundy again. Nat Nui flicks it down. Goal side. Shuey driven into the turf in a strong tackle. Eventually it comes out to Nat Nui. Free kick holding the ball. Jamie Elliott got him. And the umpire says you're holding it. And Elliott will have a free kick from 20 metres out, a slight angle left of centre.
Yep, that's a correct call because he tries to palm off Brodie Grundy and run straight into Elliott's tackle. So that's his prior opportunity.
Do you think if Shuey had got that handball free on the way to the ground,
then he would have disposed of the ball, so that's fine. But the fact that he tried to palm off, once you try and palm off and you get past him, the next tackler's free game if you don't dispose of the ball.
So Jamie Elliott, a very slow and deliberate approach. And he goes whack and gives Collingwood their 6th major of the night. Their 6th straight 36. The West Coast Eagles 4-2-26. Back out to 10 points on Grandstand AFL. An absorbing elimination final. Clint Wilden, Ben Cameron in commentary. Don Pike and Sherrod Wellingham with all of the analysis.
This is a cracking game of footy.
It is.
It's a ripper. They got two teams going at it with a big prize.
And the intensity, I think the first quarter was a little bit freer, but I think the intensity and the tackling is really lifted around this quarter.
And you can see that Collingwood again with that ball, Stevenson got it there and kicked it deep, led to the stoppage, but it was deep. They're asking Cameron and Myercheck and Cox to compete on it, but then there's smalls, Elliott, Thomas, rushing in there. Dacos getting in there front and centre, really trying to lock that ball in and create scoring opportunities. So it'll be a big finish to the half here.
10 points, the Magpies lead by. Mike's listening in. Great to have you with us, Mike. Bounce of the footy. One down again by Grundy. Out after it was Kelly. Attacked the ball aggressively. Tried to work it out. Dacos intercepted. Gave it off in turn to Treloar. And then the hand pass wasn't terrific from Collingwood. Greenwood gets it back after almost turning it over. And he'll kick into the left forward pocket. He wants Myercheck. Cox stood there. Neither could mark. Ball on the deck, trying to bring it away was Thomas. Umpire spotted a free kick going West Coast's way. It's against Elliott. And come back to Cole, who'll have it in the right back pocket. Still 10 points is that margin. Collingwood in front, 17 gone in the second.
So Cole goes short to Nelson. Played more games than in any other year. Jackson Nelson, become a regular this season. Goes really short to Shepherd, still inside the defensive arc. 10 points Collingwood's lead as Shepherd kicks long to the wing. Big pack forms. Ryan! Oh, almost in front. Has a lot of it. Doesn't complete the mark. Moore gets a handball to Madgen. That's smothered. The Eagles quickly move it the other way. But Greenwood steals it. Handball to Pendlebury for the Pies. Looking for Treloar. Pendlebury has to go back and get it. He's over the footy. The umpire circling. And saying, let me ball it up. Attacking edge of the square here for the Pies. 6 straight 36. They lead the Eagles 4-2, 26. 18 into the second.
Ball bounces around. Socket out of there by Shuey. Went short to Darling. Darling will put it towards right half forward. He finds Kennedy, who marks for the Eagles. He'll just pop it towards Cripps, who marks. It is deep in the right forward pocket, though. He'll kick on goal from around about 40 metres out, but it is a very tight angle to the right of centre. Back in the side this week. Had to take a number of weeks off to return back to Perth from the Queensland hub. The birth of his first child. Very accurate normally from set shots. Cripps kicks on its way. Put the moz on him as you'd expect. It puts it across the face. It's a minor score. 4-3-27 the Eagles. 6 straight 36. The Magpies. Bridget Lacey downstairs.
Yeah, Brad Maynard just taking that kick out there. He's back out there with taping across the middle fingers on that left hand.
A free kick from the long kick in. It'll go to Cameron for the Pies at left half back. So Cameron kicks forward of the wing. Cole takes a huge fly. Got a good ride on Adams. Doesn't complete the mark. Duggan in front. Roves and he's taken to ground. A ball up. Got upstairs there.
Tommy Cole.
Tom Cole. Landed heavy too. Allen and Cameron in the ruck. Neither a decisive tap. Kelly gets it out, but the Pies get it. Adams, Treloar onto Noble. Kicks them towards half forward. Waterman underneath the floating ball. He's able to control it and take the mark. As Archie spreading towards the southern wing. And he marks on his chest just backward of the logo for the Eagles.
Archie heads out to Ryan. Maynard got in front of him. Won the ball to ground. Eagles thought Ryan was impeded. They go again. Stevenson's able to mop it up for Collingwood. Kicks around the body. Backing back. Waterman did well to mark on the logo. On the southern wing. A kick misses its target. He's trying to find Redden. Bounces the way through towards Collingwood's Adams. Then to Treloar. Hand passes forward to Myercheck. He'll pop it up into the air. Collingwood should mark and they will. Underneath it, no, not paid. Thomas got knocked away from him. Gathering at Elliott, the hand pass turns over. Getting it away, Archie, and then to Duggan. He kicks towards the outer wing. Marked out there by Allen. That was interesting. Have to go back and see a replay on that for a moment as it kicked inboard short to Duggan. Moved again through the Eagles. That's to Redden. Redden paused for a moment and went short once more to Gaff. Gaff will kick up into the air. Kelly underneath it. He marks it left half forward, a metre in from the boundary. Collingwood's lead remains 9 points over the West Coast Eagles as Kelly will set it deep into attack. Front position, left forward pocket. Darling can't mark. It's off hands and over for a boundary throw-in. About 20 out from the Eagles' goal. Now, I felt sure Thomas had enough of the football to be awarded the mark. Does anyone disagree? Was there something else I've missed?
I thought it was a certain mark.
Ball spilled down. Hoskin Elliott got it away to Maynard for Collingwood. Kicks across the face of goal. Noble took it, got tackled by Petricelli. Just got the hand pass out to Main. Gathered hard up against the boundary. Forced to go back by hand again. And then it's taken over the boundary line. And that won't be anything other than a throw-in despite the protestations as it was come across from Madgen, who thought he might have been thrown into the turf. Collingwood's leads 9 points. 21 gone in the second.
Both rucks starting a long way back. They sprint towards the fall of the ball. Cameron taps it down. Treloar gets a handball to Adams. Handball to Main. At half-back here, the Pies. Treloar clears with a snap. She drops the mark. Noble roves. Now Thomas for the Pies. And it all opens up. Hoskin Elliott marks. He has Stevenson breaking. He marks on the fly. Takes a bounce. Runs inside 50. Shoots on goal. And misses. Just away to the right. It was good build-up from the Pies, but their first blemish of the night comes at the 22nd minute mark of the second term. 6-1-37 plays 4-3-27, the Pies lead.
So the kick from Hearn is long towards left half back. It's marked there by Shepherd. Shepherd hard up against the boundary with the inboard kick. He finds Sheed. Marking with the 50s painted on the ground, the Eagles' defensive 50. Sheed on a little bit of a run will kick down the southern wing. Front position, Kennedy can't mark, spills to ground. Roughhead's now got it, gives it to Stevenson in the long sleeves for Collingwood. Kick bounces its way towards right half forward. Cox trying to win it down for the Magpies. It's back there for Sheed and then gives it to Barris, back to Sheed. Eagles through hands. They find their way to Shepherd. Kicks back towards the southern wing and leaping up in the air, marking is Allen. He wanted someone to come towards him. No one did, so he pauses his players stream forward. Natanui all on his own. Takes an uncontested mark. Hands it back to Allen. Kicks to Gaff, who marks up against Treloar. Treloar knocked it out of his grasp. Wasn't much there. Umpire says play on. Gaff puts it inside forward. 50. Marking. Darling against Maynard. He's in line with the left-hand goalpost. Darling will go back and shoot from 35 out.
Once again, the benefit of those West Coast forwards who just compete relentlessly in the air. It started with Oscar Allen and came inboard and ends up with Darling, a great contested mark 20 metres out from goal.
So Jack Darling already with a couple tonight. Comes in. Kicks the major for West Coast. Collingwood's lead is cut to 4 points. 6-1-37 to the Eagles. 5-3-33. 24 gone in the second term.
Yeah, exactly right. I think Oscar Allen even linked up for the handball received then, but no, the mark against Grundy, I think it was, Oscar Allen, really important.
Far side,
it's that mark that really does set West Coast up for their forward 50 transition. And then,
Collingwood were working really hard here across the sort of defensive mid-area, trying not to trap it in, but they just let it out. And once they let it out, a little bit of fatigue's crept into the game. It's been played at such a high pace that both teams are looking a little tight out there. So it's a little opportunity on a counter-attack, and West Coast were able to do it. But once again, the ball hits a dangerous spot, and Jack Darling,
in between three Collingwood defenders, really
he's strong, and he's taken 2 or 3 this quarter alone, and brought a couple to ground that have created scoring opportunities. The one for Ainsworth early in this quarter.
And the Eagles fans, they rise. 4 points, Collingwood's lead. Grundy and Natanui go at it again. Grundy stays down, able to get a palm on it. Natanui hacks it out of midair. Inside attacking 50. Fist comes from behind and more. Noble spins out of a tackle into another, holding the ball. Noble's caught. Kelly's who got him. And he'll have the kick on the stroke of half-time to give the Eagles the lead.
I think it's Kennedy.
Yeah.
Well, Kennedy is going to get it. Kelly applied the first tackle. Big Josh Kennedy, the second. and had him cold.
No, it was
Kennedy
100%. Ben?
Not sure where Kelly was, but
he was lingering around when it was floating to be picked up.
Got a big pat on the head from Shuey.
Yeah.
So Josh Kennedy, he's already got a couple tonight. Trudges in, boot to ball from 49. It's out to the right, and he misses. So the Pies will lead at the half. It'll be by 3 points, 5-4-34 to 6-1-37. Collingwood with a slight advantage as we get into the main break.
So the goal kickers for Collingwood, Mason Cox with 3. And alongside those, you can add Jamie Elliott, who got 1, Noble with 1, and also Taylor Adams. While for the West Coast Eagles, they're 5 goals, 2 to Darling, 2 to Kennedy, and a single to Ainsworth. Collingwood 6-1-37 to West Coast 5-4-34. Let us know where you're listening. If you've got a question for Don or for Sharad, or you want to make a comment on the game, 0437 774 774. Great to hear so many of you listening right around the nation. This, like we've seen throughout week 1 of the finals, really does look like it's going to be another absolute cracker. Collingwood's 16-point lead at quarter time, cut to 3 points at half time. The umpires get the usual reception they get at Perth Stadium. The Eagles now making their way off the ground. So too Collingwood. They're heading down into their rooms as well, using the Fremantle rooms tonight, the Collingwood Football Club. 6-1-37 the Magpies, the Eagles 5-4-34. Let's get the thoughts of our experts. Don Pike and Sharad Wellingham. There's been a few curious decisions, but it's been good to watch.
There's been some good footy.
Yeah.
I think, the intensity throughout the whole game so far, like you said, Pikey, the intensity's been really high, and we've seen some tired bodies already. But I was probably more impressed with Collingwood in the first quarter than I was in the second. They stuck to their game plan. They still did the same thing in the second quarter, but it was more a matter of West Coast kind of raising their game and realising what they needed to do to quell that.
Yeah, I thought in the second quarter we saw a little bit more of the old Collingwood, the handball. And that was probably due to West Coast pressure. All of a sudden they were 2 handballs and handballing back and then being forced to kick it forward, whereas in the first quarter they were able to, partly due to their intent, but also through to probably a little lack of pressure from West Coast who raised the bar that quarter. More go up the game.
The times we did see it go inside Collingwood's forward 50 were the times when they were able to do the out the backs, or the linking play with the forward handball, bringing others into the game.
Yeah, and that dropped away. Credit to West Coast. And then West Coast, their key forwards were really influential in that quarter. Both Darling and Kennedy had great quarters. Kennedy kicked the 2 goals. Darling kicked 1, I think, and was certainly had a hand in the other one that Ainsworth kicked. So evenly balanced at half time, but really cracking game of footy. There's 2 teams here with a lot to play for, and they're continuing to ask questions of each other, and it's going to be fascinating to see what the second half throws up.
As you mentioned, as all really strong midfielders do, they find a way to get themselves into the game, and Kelly's done that with 7 disposals in that second quarter and played a strong hand in, I think, 2 or 3 goals. So a really good turnaround.
And they've done it really without much influence from Shuey, who's been quiet. McGovern hasn't really had any significant influence on the game, and Sheeds generated a little bit of ball, but hasn't really, been as dominant as he can rushed, be. Yeah. So there's, Cox, who started like a German band, he didn't touch the ball that quarter, so he's taken 3 contested marks inside 50 and kicked 3 goals, and then. Not to be seen. So I don't think he's on track for 12 anymore. Clint, I'm sorry. I think that dream might have died.
He's on track for 6.
He's still on track for 6.
He's still on track for 6. It was remarkable what he was able to do when they were just able to find him. So he certainly was spectacular in that first quarter, kicking 3 goals in it was around about 3.5 minutes. It was quite a remarkable little surge from Collingwood and their big American Mason Cox. He leads the goal kickers with 3. Couple of questions I'm really curious to know, and there's been a bit of discussion, particularly on the text message line as well, 0437 774 774. Tom from Melbourne, by the way, hoping the West Coast Globetrotters show can be in full flight in the second half. Jacob Clayton, the Eagles held Big Cox down in the second quarter. He was the difference in the first. He certainly was. The free kick that we saw Braden Ainsworth get the shot at goal was for a push in the back from the Cripps kick. It was against Maynard. It was a down-the-ground free kick, which I'll 100% honest with you, I missed. I was watching where it had gone, so that's the reason for the free kick that we were curious about otherwise. The decision earlier on, Biggles is at the game. I know Biggles is a big listener. G'day, Biggles, if you're still listening to us. That would be the worst umpiring decision I've ever seen, he says, for that moment when one of the Eagles players got caught for, well, contact below the knee up against a Collingwood player who could have been pinged for
Treloar.
Yeah,
Treloar
for
and Redden.
kicking in danger.
Yeah, it was an odd one, I think. It was a decision either way, and I think in those circumstances, the umpire, especially finals footy, just let the game roll. Didn't have too much of an impact on the contest, so I reckon you just let that one go.
It is incredible. Like, it feels like the crowd makes a real ruckus, don't they? And it feels as if the umpires can sense it. I'm not sure what it is, but it is a real factor here at Perth Stadium when the West Coast Eagles fans are up and running.
Which is one of the great things that you have. That's why you have a home ground. It's a home ground advantage. The earlier decision, which we've seen then, well, it wasn't, I would say, exactly consistency. The deliberate out-of-bounds calls. How have you seen those tonight?
I think the McGovern one, I'd be surprised if they'd say they got that right. But the others, it's always hard because when you take possession of the ball close to the boundary, letter of the law is you have to have intent to keep the ball in. But when you've got direct pressure from an opposition and you decide to go left, and the left happens to be the boundary because that's your best path of evading the guy, I'm not sure if you're deliberately taking the ball out of bounds or you're just trying to actually play the game.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it's a fine line. As I say, I think the McGovern one early was incorrect. But after that, yeah, I don't think there's been any that I'm looking at going, well, they should have paid that.
The one that they missed, I think, was the Thomas mark inside 50. I thought that was a mark. Were you guys a bit more on the fence?
I'm on the fence because he dropped it as the contact came.
Yep.
And I don't think he had a huge amount of... Like, you can stop the ball and have grasp control of it, but then if you get contact and it comes loose, I think that should...
Yeah, I think the umpire was closer than we are, obviously. I think he looked at and decided the contact in the mark wasn't strong enough that he actually had complete control. And then when the contact came, the ball spilled, then it was naturally he called play on. So I don't think the contact forced him to lose the ball. I think the ball was not completely secured. Yeah. And McGovern in that case, he was fantastic. He pressed that. Then he also flushed the tackle on Elliott to force the turnover, which was looking like a certain Collingwood goal. So the margins here are so fine that, not only the actual score margin, but you can just see little components of little bits of play, and that's what the second half's going to be about. Those who step up and are most efficient, can execute their fundamentals well and take those opportunities, will put scoreboard pressure on. That's what it's all about in finals. You've got to be able to... You can dominate the game for a period, but if you don't whack it on the board, as we saw with Geelong versus Port on Friday night, if you don't actually get it on the board, it counts for not a lot because it's going to ebb and flow, as we've seen in this game already.
It's been terrific to watch, despite the controversial moments. There's always a couple of them. You do feel for umpires here at the West Coast Eagles home ground. Weagles is used as a derogatory term. Please don't use it, guys. Surely that's chat room rubbish. Dan, if I've said it, I didn't do it deliberately. I certainly do apologise again, but it wasn't said deliberately. So, yeah.
I think you were reading out a text, weren't you?
Yeah, I probably was. Yeah. And quite often, as I've discovered in the past, you just read exactly what's on the screen. Can get into trouble for that as well, Sharad, along the way, I assure you. Dan, if there was any offence taken, certainly wasn't deliberate. 6-1-37, the Magpies, the Eagles are 5-4-34. It is half-time here at Perth Stadium. We'll come back with plenty more and see what will happen in this second half. Hopefully the finals, week one, is as good as we've seen so far. Already winning through to a prelim final. Port Adelaide on Thursday night, Brisbane on Friday night. It'll be Richmond versus St Kilda in one of the two semi-finals after St Kilda beat the Bulldogs by 3 points earlier today. Will it be the Eagles or Collingwood to take on Geelong in the other semi-final next week? We'll find out the second half to come. But right now, let's pause and take the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. Conflicting accounts are emerging of the condition of US President Donald Trump, who's being treated for COVID-19 at a military hospital outside of Washington, D.C. Larry Buttrose reports.
Initially, the administration said Mr Trump and his wife Melania would stay at the White House following their diagnosis. But less than a day later, Mr Trump was transferred by helicopter to the Walter Reed National Military Medical Centre, and doctors have administered him with the antiviral remdesivir and what's being called an experimental antibody cocktail. While the White House has continued to describe his symptoms as mild, US network CNN is reporting a Trump advisor says the situation is serious. CNN's chief White House correspondent Jim Acosta has tweeted the president is very tired and having trouble breathing.
The US president has shared an update about his health from the military hospital where he's been admitted. In a post on Twitter, Donald Trump writes, "Going well, I think. Love you all, and love." The Department of Defence is denying the Queensland government had been misled about the deployment of troops in Western Australia. Jake Kiernan reports.
In a statement to the ABC, the Department of Defence has confirmed troops going interstate to assist with hotel quarantine are not the same as the personnel who were pulled from the Queensland border. The department says troops were helping with hotel quarantine in several states, including Queensland, so more Australians could return home from overseas. It comes after the state's Deputy Premier Stephen Miles criticised the federal government of lying. Mr Miles claims he was told they were withdrawn in order to prepare for the disaster season. The ADF says it is prioritising its resources toward urgent national priorities, such as support for mandatory COVID-19 quarantine arrangements and preparations for the high-risk weather season.
Victoria Police are stepping up patrols at beaches after large crowds gathered on the St Kilda foreshore flouting coronavirus restrictions. Premier Daniel Andrews blasted the beachgoers, saying not wearing masks or socially distancing puts people's lives at risk. The City of Port Phillip also warned it will close St Kilda Beach if people continue to break the law. Victoria's Chief Health Officer Brett Sutton says the rules are important and must be followed for the well-being of all Victorians.
They're not easy. It's been a very, very long haul. Many people are fatigued by it. But if the numbers today and the numbers in recent days aren't proof positive that they're exactly the things that have gotten us to this point, I don't know what is.
New South Wales Police says Strike Force Irabella will investigate serious allegations against a former South Sydney Rabbitohs player. Alison Shaw with the details.
The police's organised crime unit has set up a strike force following claims of domestic violence and drug use by Sam Burgess, published in the Australian newspaper. Rabbitohs head coach Wayne Bennett says he first heard the claims in the last 24 hours.
Right now, I'm not going to respond to allegations. I'm sure the club's not, and I'm sure the NRL aren't.
Sam Burgess has denied all allegations.
The State Emergency Service says it may be a few days before a dam at Torquay on Victoria's surf coast will be safe enough for nearby residents to return to their homes. About 150 people were evacuated from their homes on Pintail Drive overnight because of fears a 180 megalitre dam on a neighbouring private property may burst. Authorities are slowly pumping water out of the dam. Resident Daniel Moore says he noticed water pooling in his backyard and called emergency services.
We've only been here for a year and a bit, so yeah, we are worried. But said fingers crossed it was just backyard damage rather than stuff that got into the slab and the foundation and everything else.
Residents near Cooktown are being urged to leave immediately as Queensland Fire and Emergency Services battles a bushfire in the state's far north. The bushfire is travelling on both sides of Oakey Creek Road and is expected to impact multiple properties in the surrounding area. Authorities say the large uncontrolled fire is also burning in the vicinity of Ironwood Avenue. Emergency services are urging residents who are not in the area to stay away as conditions are too dangerous. And Germany's foreign minister says the EU must impose sanctions on Russia following the near-fatal poisoning of Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny. Mr. Navalny is still recovering in Berlin following his poisoning with the suspected Novichok nerve agent during a visit to Siberia. The German minister says sanctions must always be targeted. You're up to date with the latest from ABC News.
Get the latest news
Anytime and anywhere.
whenever you want, wherever you are. With the ABC News app. Top stories from your state, Australia, and around the world. Plus, get the latest breaking news with live notifications.
ABC News. ABC News. ABC News. ABC News.
Head to news.abc.net.au or download the ABC News app.
The 2020 AFL Finals Series.
On ABC Radio and on Grandstand Digital.
Duggan marks for the Eagles, gives it off to Ainsworth, pokes it inside 50, Darling's on the end of it. He marks 45 out, trudges in, boot the ball from just beyond the arc. It's a good-looking kick. It goes right to the line, and the Eagles have the first of the night.
Duggan back again to McGovern, who then steps under pressure from Pendlebury over the boundary line, and they've called it deliberate. Well, he didn't have anything else to do. That's what he was trying to get away with, and the kick is inbound, and Cox goes up, and he marks right in front of goal. Mason Cox in front. He kicks the goal for Collingwood.
Hoskin Elliott, who marks close to the boundary line at left half forward, right on the arc of 50. He looks inside a congested 50.
So he'll kick. Cox again is a man mountain, and he's able to drag it in. At left full forward. Looking to kick back-to-back goals for the Magpies. He does just that.
So Treloar,
50-50 for mine, but
alongside the centre circles, kicks towards Cox again. He's got it once more. Comes in, gun barrel straight. Mason Cox has kicked 3 goals in the first term. So Nat Nui and Grundy again. Grundy palms it down. Kelly comes out of the middle for the Eagles. Kicks towards full forward. Kennedy on the lead. He marks out in front for a dream start in this second term. Josh Kennedy hands it to the Eagles.
To Archie, runs through the centre circles, just gets the kick away, almost run down, but he's able to find Ryan who marks. And Liam Ryan, he's about 70 from goal, kicks high towards full forward, Darling underneath it, couldn't mark, got the hand pass away though, it's spilled to Ainsworth who snaps and goals.
Nat Nui flicks it down, goal side, Shuey driven into the turf in a strong tackle, eventually it comes out to Nat Nui, free kick holding the ball. So Jamie Elliott, a very slow and deliberate approach, and he goes whack.
The 2020 AFL Finals Series.
On ABC Radio and on Grandstand Digital.
The Eagles making their way back out onto the ground. Collingwood have been out for a couple of minutes now, warming up to the right of our broadcast position. Half time in the final, if you know what I mean, of week 1 of the final series, and Collingwood lead by 3 points, 61-37 to West Coast, 5-4-34. Bruce of Elmhurst, has made me laugh. Collywobbles versus Weagles. We knew who you were talking about. Go Tigers. Thanks, Bruce. Apologies, Dan. It was funny. How's the atmosphere with the Eagles supporters? It is electric, as it always is. They are so loud for their home team, and we know it's always discussed. The great line from Alan Richardson of St Kilda, the noise of affirmation, but it is just so good to be at a venue with crowds. And again, sympathies. I don't say that to rub it in to our Victorian listeners. Huge sympathy and empathy for what everyone is going through in Victoria. Hopefully the crowds are back at the MCG and the Docklands very, very soon. It's been just incredible to see crowds again this weekend. Big crowd at the Gabba, great crowd at Adelaide Oval, big crowd again tonight. Hopefully it continues throughout the final series. The news is just through about the next 2 weeks for the AFL finals. The schedule is like this. Richmond have got what they wanted. That is, the semi-final will be played on the Gold Coast. It's the Friday night game. Richmond against St Kilda next Friday, 7 o'clock bounce Eastern. The semi-final between the winner of Geelong and this game will be played on Saturday at the Gabba, the 10th of October. 7:40 bounce down again, or 7:40 bounce down Eastern time for that. Then week 3 going ahead, the first preliminary final, which will be Port Adelaide versus the winner of the second semi, that is Richmond versus St Kilda. That'll be at the Adelaide Oval at a 7:50 bounce Eastern. And then on Saturday, the 17th of October, the Brisbane Lions are at the Gabba, where they'll play the winner of the first semi-final, be that Collingwood, West Coast or Geelong. 3 teams still in the mix to battle out that. Teams heading to their respective positions. The light show is spectacular. The LED show here for the West Coast Eagles. The stadium just bursts into life in blue and gold. Will the Eagles be able to continue this fight back? They trailed by 16 points at quarter time. They cut it back to 3 points at the half. Batman and Robert in their forward 50. Kennedy and Darling both with a couple. And there's some interesting news from downstairs. We were talking about it at half time. The efforts in the middle of the ground. Bridget Lacey, I know it's loud, but what can you tell us?
Yeah, just interested to see Brodie Grundy come to the Brents bench to start this quarter. So they're backing in the local boy from WA in the centre to start this second half. Darcy Cameron, interesting from Collingwood.
So the second half about to get underway. Collingwood with a 3-point head start as Cameron wins the tap, palms it down towards Adams. Emerging with the football, Shuey though for the Eagles, kicks towards half forward. Archie can't mark, Ryan can't rove. Archie tries again, gets it this time, off to Ryan, handball to Cripps, kicks to the goal square, Allen marks. 12 metres out, slide angle right of centre, and the Eagles, they just willed it forward, and eventually it ends in the awaiting arms of Oscar Allen.
I think playing behind, but attacked the ball really well, Oscar Allen, and just caught Madgen not really knowing where he was. Hard when you don't know where your opposition forward is.
One of 3 Eagles playing in their first final tonight. Comes in, close range, completes it, puts it through for the major, and the Eagles take back the lead. Their first lead since the 13-minute mark of the first term. They move along to 6-4-40, Collingwood 6-1-37. 1 minute into this second half, Grandstand AFL. Don Pike, the dual Eagles premiership player, and Sharad Wellingham, the Pies premiership player, and an Eagle.
The little bit of a different one there. It was efficient, but it was not as clean. Nick Nat lost the hit out. Yeah. It wasn't a clean inside 50, but it was still a super quick goal to start with.
But again, their third goal of the night from centre bounce, and that's a massive advantage in a 6-goal game, and you get 3 out of centre bounce, and it's, as I said, it's been one of their strengths all year, and they continue to go to that space tonight to now get in front of this game. So yeah, you're right. It was just knock on,
get it there,
whack it forward, and even the last kick in wasn't a place kick. It was just sort of a rushed surge kick, and it good mark by Allen.
I think it was Chris Scott who said the worst thing about playing West Coast is when they kick a goal, it goes back to the centre bounce.
Well, it's Cameron again, as the bounce isn't great. It'll be brought back to face Natanui. Thrown aloft.
Well, it's interesting why Grundy's not starting the quarter. It's an unusual move.
One down by Natanui, who goes after it himself, and then stolen away though by Elliott. Spun away from Natanui. And then Elliott kicks towards left half forward. The ball bounces, trying to get onto it. Dacos tapped it along the line. It goes over the boundary line. He got bumped after he tapped the ball along Dacos. And De Goey couldn't get there quickly enough to keep it in. It's 60 out from Collingwood's goal. They're heading to the right of our broadcast position in this, the third term. That's the city end of Perth Stadium. The ball back in. Cameron against Natanui. Natanui won it down straight to Kelly. Gave it to Redden. Back to Kelly. Couldn't drag it in. Wasn't a great hand pass. Natanui mopped up to Redden again. Now to Shuey. Kicks the Eagles towards Senui out of side. Moore's done well. Gathered the football. Wheeled around. Up against Darling. Sends it back inside attacking 50 and Shepherd marks. Nicely worked then McGovern. Just working in front of Myercheck to allow Shepherd to mark that football as the ball's towards right half back to Shuey. And he'll move it short to Darling, who marks for West Coast. They lead the Eagles by 3 points, 3 minutes into the third. Clint Wilton alongside this man, Ben Cameron, in commentary.
So Darling kicks forward of the wing for the Eagles, looking for a marker. Allen comes up, can't take it. Gaff coming through, dispossessed of the football. Allen goes in again. He's held up in a tackle, and the umpire will ball it up. So the Eagles by 3 points. Cameron wins the tap down. Adams with the clearing kick, tumbles it to the wing. De Goey comes up. He's been quiet. Dacos picks it up. Handball forward to Pendlebury. Just forward of the wing. Feigns to kick, then does. Towards half forward. Cox. Marks leading out. Gets it off to De Goey. Gets around his man. Onto his left. Kick towards goal. Geordie De Goey! Hasn't been his night, but that's his moment. And the Pies take back the lead. They're 7-1-43. The Eagles 6-4-40. 4 minutes into the third term on Grandstand AFL.
And that's the class of Scott Pendlebury there. He got the ball on the outer side, and a lot of players would have just whacked it on the boot, but he waited and held until Cox just got a little bit of separation, and then he was able to lower his eyes and find that target. And from there, to De Goey, who we know the quality of De Goey, and it was an outstanding finish. But just Pendlebury's game awareness to use the ball effectively sets the goal up.
Bridget Lacey's on the boundary. Bridge.
Brodie Grundy out there now.
Heads straight to the centre circles where Natanui awaits. Magpies back in front. They lead by 3. Tom Barras again stands alongside Mason Cox. They're right on the goal line between the big sticks. City end of the ground. 5th versus 8th. West Coast against Collingwood. It's the game that we were hoping for so far. Bounce of the footy. Natanui flew early. Grundy does tap it down. Gather's got a little nudge from Treloar. Works it on to Natanui though. Then to Redden. Kicks towards centre half forward. Ryan's there. Hand passes to the running Cripps, who did well to gather and then thumps it home. They will celebrate with him. It's all about the bub. Not this time a bub in a hub, but a bub at home for Jamie Cripps. He's back in the team and back amongst the goal kickers. West Coast in front again by 3 points. 6 minutes gone in the third. 7-4-46 the Eagles. Collingwood 7-1-43. Our experts Don Pike and Sharad Wellingham.
Smooth pick up from Jamie Cripps. I think they're both having a little bit of a laugh about it now as we watch the replay. But again, a centre bounce goal. Nick Nat's follow up work, handballs it onto Redden, and then it wasn't that clean, crisp ball that we've seen from the CB, but it got there and a great pick-up. Absolutely amazing pick-up off his toes from Jamie Cripps and a good finish from 45 out.
So a 4th lead change of the night. Jamie Cripps back in the team. Last played round 14. Welcomed his first child into the world. In the interim, has been out of the bubble. Now he's back in. Natanui and Grundy in the middle. Natanui steps around Grundy, lays it down towards Redden. He loses it in the Pendlebury tackle. And they all dive on top. So we'll try again, still inside the bullseye in the middle of Perth Stadium. Umpire puts it aloft. Grundy slaps it down this time, but Natanui picks it up. Bumped off his kick. Crisp in there now. Grundy gets it. Handball away to Main. Handball to Quaynor. Now Noble. Off half-back for the Pies. A kick towards half-forward. Hoskin Elliott goes up. Hearn there with him. Thomas at the fall of the ball for the Pies. Hoskin Elliott picks it up. Now Main spins in a tackle. Back to Hoskin Elliott. Handball back to Noble. Just gets it on the boot. A kick to half-forward. Getting a hand in Myercheck. McGovern at the fall for the Eagles. And opens it all up with a kick on the 45 into the middle and Ainsworth.
Ainsworth moves it on quickly, finds Waterman, thumps it towards the southern wing and hits Darling. Got in front of Moore. Darling marks, looks to play on, kicks over the top of Moore and can't quite find Cole. Cole unable to stop it, rolling over the boundary line for a throw in at right half forward for the Eagles.
It's a good movement there, but they probably missed one overlap option. There was before they went to Darling. They could have actually got
Cole
the player Cole who could have run and carried the ball.
Throwing in Grundy, won it down to Pendlebury. Kicks Collingwood towards left half forward, waiting for it. Front on contact came from Myercheck. McGovern couldn't mark, but he was infringed and he'll get the free kick. Peter listening in Canberra Hospital. Hope you're working, Peter, and you're not unwell. If you are, hope you get better soon. The Pies have surprised the Eagles, and I hope the Pies go on to win well. Thanks, Peter, for getting in touch. 0437 774 774. Short kick. He's moved to Shepherd for West Coast. Down the line, big punch. Came from Darling, absolutely thumped it over the boundary line. Actually, probably went back about 30 metres. It'll be a throw in between right half back and centre wing out of side of Perth Stadium. West Coast lead on the scoreboard. They're up by 3 points, 7-4 to 7-1. 9 gone in the third.
Allen in the ruck for the Eagles, hands on it along with Grundy. A little kick comes out towards Crisp, who kicks the Pies inside attacking 50. Bouncing ball. McGovern's there to mop up for West Coast. Back feeds a handball to Barris, who thumps it to the wing. Marking contest. Allen goes up. Grundy comes down with it. Gaff takes it from him. His handball's out of play. We'll get a boundary throw in between wing and left half forward for Collingwood. There's 7-1-43 trailing the Eagles. 7-4-46. The Pies have led for most of the night. The Eagles in front at the moment.
Ball back in. Allen worked it out and did really well to find Cripps, who runs to the logo, thumps it inside forward 50, one-on-one battle. Unable to mark it was Kennedy, and is he giving away the free kick? He has. Roughhead will have it. Just having the front of the jumper held, according to the officials.
Yes, just as he came to ground, Kennedy was still holding on.
Certainly they were both involved for a little bit. Roughhead's kick towards the outer wing. Treloar on the deck, shoveled it out to Greenwood. Broke a tackle, got a hand pass away to Chris for Collingwood. Kicks back down the wing. Mychek going forward. The spoil came from McGovern. Came out the back for the Eagles. They'll have it through Redden. Now to Gaff. Gaff forced to backtrack. And he's able to hit Cole, who marks on his chest. A metre in from the boundary at right half back. 11 gone in the third. The Eagles lead by 3.
So Cole runs around the boundary. Kicks towards half forward. Going up, Allen. Moore's there with the fist. He sends it out of play. We'll get a throw in.
Just get a feeling West Coast are just getting the game played on their terms.
It's on their tempo, isn't it?
It's on their tempo, on their terms. The last 4 or 5 entries Collingwood have had in their forward half, they've either lost a ground ball or aerial or free kick, and it's coming back into the midfield too quickly for mine.
Allen and Grundy in the ruck. Grundy brings it down in front with his left hand. Treloar picks it up, takes a bounce, thinks about a second, decides to kick instead. Towards half forward. Cox is there. He's bracketed by a couple of Eagles. Comes down to Thomas. Sweeps a handball to Hoskin Elliott. 2 fumbles. Eventually gathers. Snaps and misses. Should have done better. I know it's easy from here, but a couple of fumbles made it more difficult than it needed to be. And eventually he hooked it too far. So 2 points the Eagles lead.
Nelson looks to take it away and stamps the pass to Redden. Redden moves it short. He's able to find McGovern, who goes down the outer wing. It's a beautifully measured kick. On him turn to Ryan, then to Sheed, now to Allen, racing through West Coast. To Gaff inside forward 50. Well read by Chris for Collingwood. Got in front and took the defensive mark. Needed to be taken. And then puts it out towards Main, who marks deep in the right back pocket. Chris Main showed tremendous courage. Missed a couple of weeks, of course, after that hefty knock, and then kicks towards right half back. Mychek won it down to Greenwood. Kicks up in the air towards right half forward. Real battle hit here. Shepherd against DeGoey. Shepherd taps it towards the boundary line, and it's over for a throw-in. West Coast by 2.
Just looks like West Coast is starting to outnumber them a bit at the contest as well. So the work rate's going to be the challenge now for Collingwood.
Grundy front position. He swung a hand at it. Missed it the first time. Got it with the second. Out towards Pendlebury, though. Hard up against the boundary line. Under pressure. Takes it over the line. And that will be, quite rightly, a throw-in. The Eagles fans still protesting after McGovern was pinged for deliberate back in the first term. Spun in again. Both rucks missed it. Tapped back by Chris, but down the throat of Archie for the Eagles. And he moves it on towards Shuey. Now to Sheed, receiving the hand pass on centre wing. Kicks into the left forward pocket. One-on-one battle. Moore versus Darling. Moore's done well. Won it to ground. Got it on Imagine. Cleverly stepped away from Kennedy. Kicks Collingwood towards right half forward. The Pies with the numbers. They bring it to ground. It came to Elliott. Looking to get a hand pass out. Tackled by Nelson. The ball does jar free. To Mychek. To Goey. Centering pass. It needs to be precise. It is. Hoskin Elliott marks. Turns. Shoots. Goals. Great play, Collingwood. And they hit the front, the Magpies. Back in the lead at the 14-minute mark of the third term. They're 8-2-50 to West Coast 7-4-46. Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital. Our experts Don Pike and Sharad Wellingham.
Yeah, well, just a really good one-on-one contest. Darling v Moore. Moore got it done and created the flow, and all of a sudden again they're going at the game Madgen kicks the ball long and creates the contest. Now, the question will be asked is how did he get rid of the ball down here? And, Elliott certainly was tackled well by Nelson, had an opportunity, but it was almost just dropped. But that's probably the rule. The rule says if you have no prior opportunity, as long as you attempt to dispose of it, even if you don't kick or handball it, it's play on. So from there, Collingwood were able to flow in. And, again, beautiful vision from De Goey, who finds Hoskin Elliott for the finish. But a transitional goal again for Collingwood. That's what they're going to need to keep doing and have the courage to keep attacking the goal face with any of their ball movement.
Only his second goal in his last 5 games for Hoskin Elliott. One of 13 players out there for Collingwood who played in that 2018 grand final. Nat Nui backhands it down looking for Sheed. Sheed eventually picks it up. Treloar steals it. Gives it off to Adams. Back to Treloar. Handball inside 50. Here's Thomas, who just weaves, then kicks it short to Elliott. Plays on. Goes from 50 right towards the goal line. It's just the wrong side of the post. A minor score. The Pies lead out to 5. They're 8-3-51. West Coast 7-4-46. 5 points the Pies lead. Quarter hour mark, third term.
So Hearn brings it back into play. Thumping kick to the southern wing. Brought down by Cameron for Collingwood. Madgen picks it up, tackled immediately. No prior. Ball up will be the decision. Outer edge of the centre square, just inside Collingwood's defensive half of the ground. Ball put aloft. Both rucks had a go. Cameron with the more telling tap. It came out to Dacos, went back by hand through traffic to Chris, then to Treloar. That's a lovely hand pass to Dacos. Runs Collingwood to left half forward, then kicks towards full forward and up and marking Myercheck. Hit his head on the turf solidly after the battle with Hearn in the air, but he's okay and could go back and try and kick what would be his first of the evening.
And that's what we've been talking about, Shara. The stoppage there in the midfield and the Collingwood's ability to handball into the space they're creating with their forwards just sitting back is allowing them to get deep entries, but they're just getting that, again, winning that initial possession at the stoppage and then using their hands but in a forward movement is really asking questions of the West Coast defence.
So Myercheck from point-blank range. He kicks another one for Collingwood. They've gone with back-to-back majors. And they've put their lead out to 11 points. The Magpies 9-3-57. West Coast 7-4-46. 16 and a bit gone in the third. Grandstand AFL from Perth Stadium.
Well, I think you made the call. The tempo slipped into West Coast's hands, and then Collingwood have managed to wrestle, not so much wrestle the tempo back, but have just gone bang, bang with a couple of transition goals off the back of some really good structural play and just bringing the teammates into the game into space.
And these centre bounces are going to become so crucial from here through the rest of the game, because you can see the last one that Collingwood won, it was deep, it goes through for a point, but it just allows the game to be played in the half. And both coaches will be very, very mindful of the territory battle and trying to win that, and it starts with these centre bounces.
So the man they call Checkers has a good record at this venue. His 11th goal in this, his 7th game. It's a good story too. He's a mature age pickup. The bounce back in the middle. Cameron and Nat Nui. Shuey gets the tap off the hands of Cameron. Kicks towards half forward for the Eagles. Race is on. Maynard gets there first. Misses the target with his handball. Cameron arrives though. Gives a don't argue. Shovels out a handball towards the boundary line. Shuey picks it up though. Ryan slips over. Shuey was looking for him with the kick. And Cameron's there again. Eventually jams it on the boot, and Sheed will run up and mark. So the Eagles have it just forward of the wing. Sheed pokes a kick short to Shuey. About 80 from home. Looks inside 50, tries to weight it to Kennedy. Getting a hand on it. It was Cameron, but it was a little high on Kennedy. And the West Coast Eagles spearhead will get the kick. Man on the mark, 35 out. It's a 45-degree angle on the left-hand side.
Beautifully weighted kick by Shuey. I think he almost waited for Kennedy to instigate the lead and just knew that space was there.
Yeah, Darling was sort of holding in the pocket and created that space, and Kennedy's, such a quality forward. He identified that space quickly and early. Not sure about the free kick. It was very...
Probably not there.
I mean, Cameron's got a right to compete on the ball.
Kennedy comes in. Sends it on its way and hits the post. About 3/4 of the way up. It was just starting to straighten as he would have liked, but not quite enough. So 10 points. Collingwood's lead, 19 minutes into the third term.
Quaynor, beyond defensive 50. Natanui flies! And a big mark. That's a ripping grab from Natanui, former Mark of the Year winner. Won't pick that up this year, but nevertheless, great grab over Cameron. Kicks back. Ryan full again. Couldn't get hands to it this time. Big pack in the left forward pocket. Comes out to Gaff. Now to Darling. He'll snap around the body. He'll miss narrowly. It was to the left-hand side from the left forward pocket. 9 points the margin. 9-3-57 Collingwood. West Coast 7-6-48. 19 gone in the third.
So Darcy Moore to take the kick in. He goes up the middle towards Cameron, who launches and marks. Gives it off quickly by hands to Adam. Adams kicks to half forward. Bouncing ball. Cox applies the tackle on call. Ball jars free. Or does it? It's still stuck underneath them. And the umpire wants to throw it aloft. Mason Cox with a bit of afters with Liam Duggan. Bit of a height and weight difference. 3 or 4 classes maybe.
That's right.
The umpire puts it up. Grundy roves it. Handball back to Noble. Just gets it on the boot. Kicks the Pies to centre half forward. Big fist from Ainsworth. Adams able to knock it down towards Main. Handball to Treloar. Spiral towards full forward. McGovern goes to ground. It bounces off his back. Duggan's tackled. Eventually gets a handball away. Sheet arrives. Handball to McGovern. Handball to Cole, and the Eagles clear.
Only as far as Quaynor, though, has it at left half forward for Collingwood. Puts it back inside forward 50. Big pack up. Ryan's at the drop. Got a hand pass away. Duggan. Then to Hearn. Beyond defensive 50 for West Coast. Almost a magical fly. Wow, Archie. One day he'll bring down an absolute screamer. Spilled out to Quaynor. Back to Maynard. Puts Collingwood back inside forward 50 in the right back pocket. Hearn marks defensively for West Coast. He'll calm things down for the Eagles as we close in on three-quarter time. He'll move it short. It'll be marked by Gaff right up against the boundary at right half back.
So Gaff, he'll decide to kick towards the wing. Moore comes up and takes a nice mark. The All-Australian defender bites off a kick into the middle. Finds Hoskin Elliott, who marks. Chips it short to DeGoey. Just forward of the logo. He's side up by 9 points. 22 minutes into this third term. DeGoey drives it long towards full forward. McGovern with a big fist. Comes down to Treloar. Snaps on goal. And misses away to the left-hand side.
Really unfortunate there. West Coast have done a really good job of getting back defensively and clogged up all that space on the narrow side, and the spoil just went that side to 3 Collingwood players.
Posted 25 metres straight to Collingwood. It was like, yeah.
Hearn decides to go himself and then stabs a pass. Beautiful kick. Low, flat, hard to Shuey. Moves it beyond defensive 50 and Sheed marks right half back for West Coast. He's got options behind him. He'll go right to fullback again to Hearn. He'll come out towards Waters. Had to run a long way to mark at left half back for the Eagles. Lost his footing after he marked the football and then goes to fullback again. So West Coast went right. They come back into the middle to Hearn. Goes up the corridor to McGovern. Gets plenty of advice to go to Duggan, who marks in the right back pocket. We were a moment ago. They now probe out to the right-hand side to Shepherd. Here's a chance. There's a player on all on his own, Gaff, and he marks on centre wing. Puts the bright yellow boots in motion, runs around and then kicks towards right half forward. Darling in front, almost a strong grab. He'll get a second go at it as well. Gets tackled by Grundy, slung around, 360 holding the ball. Could not break the Grundy tackle, and he's got it for the Magpies at left half back. They lead on the scoreboard by 10 points, 24 gone in the third.
So Grundy retreats to Maynard, who kicks to the defensive goal square, and Noble for the Pies. He kicks to Madgen in the back pocket, who runs to the defensive arc, pinpoints Stevenson. A little double grab before he completes the mark. Comes inboard short to Quaynor, got the right sock up. A shin guard after that horrific injury. Kicks back inside his defensive 50 to Maynard, who flares it out to the southern wing where Main marks. He wants to just chip it back to Darcy Moore, and the Pies just taking a little bit of sting out of it as we approach three-quarter time. They lead by 10 points. He goes short to Noble. Just backward of the logo, southern side. The winner will take on Geelong next week. As Noble kicks to a contest at half forward here for the Pies. Comes down in front. Kelly, handball to Shuey. Stolen by Pendlebury. Gets a handball away to Treloar. Then off to Cox. Loops a handball over the top. Cole comes out. Nelson's back there. Handball to Hearn. And the Eagles should be able to repel through Shepherd.
Just beyond defensive 50. Scooped up now for West Coast by Kelly. Kicks towards the outer wing. Moore spoiled at the ground. Noble out after it. Can't stop it going over the boundary. On centre wing, southern side of Perth Stadium. Just seconds to go until the final change. Collingwood lead by 10. Season over for the losers. Natanui got the tap down to Kelly. Got tackled. Spilled out towards Grundy. Hand pass back into traffic. It's not coming out of there. Natanui just wrapped up a pie. My suspicion is it's Pendlebury amongst all of that. It is. He emerges after Natanui climbed up off him. Thrown up into the air again. Grundy with the tap, but down the throat of Redden as the siren sounds for three-quarter time. And a fantastic final term sits ahead of us because Collingwood lead by 10 points against the home side, the West Coast Eagles. 9-4-58, the Magpies. The Eagles 7-6-48. The goal kickers for Collingwood. Mason Cox has got 3, and then singles to Myercheck, Hoskin Elliott, Adams, Jamie Elliott, and Jordan De Goey. While for West Coast, their goals 2 to Darling, 2 to Kennedy, singles to Ainsworth, to Cripps and Allen. Collingwood, they led by 16 points at quarter time, had that margin cut to 3 points at half time, and lead by 10 at three-quarter time. Wherever you're listening on ABC Radio, on News Radio, and on Grandstand Digital, this is Grandstand AFL.
Everyone was looking for Nicola Gobbo, the woman who became known as Lawyer X.
The woman at the centre of Victoria's biggest legal scandal.
Since going into hiding, the only interview she's done is with the ABC.
Nicola Gobbo, location undisclosed.
And now we're telling her full story.
She was under enormous pressure.
It's like the ultimate betrayal. When you're stuck in hell, keep going.
The Informer, a gripping new season of the hit podcast Trace. Hear it on the ABC Listener.
The 2020 AFL Finals Series.
On ABC Radio and on Grandstand Digital.
Archie can't mark, Ryan can't rope. Archie tries again, gets it this time. Off to Ryan, handball to Cripps, kicks to the goal square, Allen marks. 12 metres out, slide angle right of centre. One of 3 Eagles playing in their first final tonight. Comes in, close range, completes it, puts it through for the major. De Goey comes up, he's being quiet, Dacos picks it up. Handball forward to Pendlebury. Just forward of the wing. Feints to kick, then does. Towards half forward. Cox. Marks leading out. Gets it off to De Goey. Gets around his man. Onto his left. Kick towards goal. Geordie De Goey. Hasn't been his night, but that's his moment.
Bounce of the footy. Natanui flew early. Grundy does tap it down. Gaff Gather's got a little nudge from Treloar. Works it on to Natanui though. Then to Redden. Kicks towards centre half forward. Ryan's there. Hand passes to the running Cripps, who did well to gather and then thumps it home. They will celebrate with him. It's all about the bub. Not this time a bub in a hub, but a bub at home for Jamie Cripps. The Pies with the numbers. They bring it to ground. It came to Elliott. Looking to get a hand pass out. Tackled by Nelson. The ball does jump free. To Myercheck. De Goey. Centering pass. It needs to be precise. It is. Hoskin Elliott marks. Turns. Shoots. Goals. Great play, Collingwood. Treloar. That's a lovely hand pass to Dacos. Runs Collingwood to left half forward. Then kicks towards full forward and up and marking Myercheck. So Myercheck from point-blank range. He kicks another one for Collingwood. Quaynor, beyond defensive 50. Natanui flies! And a big mark. That's a ripping grab from Natanui.
The 2020 AFL Finals Series.
On ABC Radio and on Grandstand Digital.
0437 774 774 is our text message number. We'd love to hear from you. We'll get to your text in just a moment, but this is a fantastic game of football, as we've seen throughout the finals. Collingwood lead by 10 points at three-quarter time. Eagles fans will remember in the first week of the 2018 final series, they led by 10 points at three-quarter time as well. West Coast went on to win by 16. What will occur tonight? Collingwood have been terrific at times. So too the Eagles. Don Pike, Sherrod Willingham. What are we expecting?
Well, after a little burst from West Coast at the start of that quarter, got them in front. Collingwood then, to their credit, responded really strongly, and the game was played in their half for the last part of it. And Collingwood's ability to score on the transition, Sherrod, has improved. It was one of their weaknesses coming into the game,
and for a long time.
And they've scored 3 goals that quarter. A couple from stoppage, one on the transition out of the back half. Whereas West Coast is struggling in that space. Now that's a credit to Collingwood. We know Collingwood's a really strong defensive side, but West Coast
also like to kick a ball around the boundary.
Yeah,
and they haven't had any transition through the corridor.
So Collingwood's been able to use the corridor more on transition, which has created opportunities for them to score. West Coast are reluctant to take it in there because that's not their mode, and they've really relied upon. Their main scoring source at the moment is centre bounce. They've kicked 4 of their 7 goals from centre bounce, so that's going to be important for Collingwood to shut that down in the last quarter. But West Coast will need to start to shift the ball a bit and ask some more questions of the Collingwood defence.
When it's transitional football.
On transition.
Yeah, and I think Collingwood can't afford to go, and I'm sure they're not going to, but they can't afford to go defensive at the stoppage and go away from what they have been doing. They just need to stick fat, continue the way they have been going. They might get their... West Coast might get their couple of goals from CB, but they've just got to make sure that they don't start using the ball well enough to transition goal.
Yeah, and look, these games come down to finals. There's 10 points of difference.
There'll be a big moment.
There'll be a moment, but it'll be the team who wins the contest, and that whether that be air or ground, and then there's a component of work rate. If you can get the extra number over there, 3 beats 2 more often, 4 beats 3, and so it really comes down to the work rate of the teams, winning the contest, and basically taking your moment. And that's about efficiency and execution, your fundamentals. And that's why we love finals footy so much, because it's, 12, we saw that today, the St Kilda Bulldogs game. It looked like it's all over, and next minute you're fighting for your life for the last 3 minutes trying to win or save a game. So, sets up for a great last quarter.
What do the numbers tell us, Ben Cameron?
So to three-quarter time, the West Coast Eagles with 226 disposals, Collingwood 210. Kicking efficiency 72%, West Coast 66. Collingwood contested possessions +2. The Pies, the clearances, the Eagles +1. Inside 50s, Collingwood 33, the West Coast Eagles 25. Leading ball winners on the ground, Adam Treloar with 22, Taylor Adams with 15, Liam Duggan with 19. Leads the Eagles, equal leader with Andrew Gaff on 19. Collingwood leading by 10 points as we turn for home. 9-4-54. Plays 7-6-48.
D says, loving the game, boys. Listening in the car as we travel home from Point Sampson in the Pilbara to Perth. Come on, the Eagles. Good you could be with us. Ferg, I enjoy these texts at finals time. G'day, team. Loving the call from Melbourne. I'm a Cats fan. I find myself supporting the Eagles tonight. I'd prefer to play them next week in Queensland, and if they win, Collingwood lose. Win-win. That's harsh, Ferg, but thanks for sharing it with us. It's been a great final series, says Daniel of Mount Barker in South Australia. Great games, great commentary. Hope it continues. Hope this final term lives up to what we've seen so far in week 1. And to Jeff of Cannons Creek, can you all promise not to use the phrase, I'll get to it, obviously reading this would break that promise. I put it on Twitter what the phrase is, but I'll give you a clue, Ben.
I know what it is.
It's like a colossal cavort or a great gamble or a tremendous tango. That's the phrase that we're not allowed to use. I reckon it's one of the great cliches, but I'll promise you, Jeff, I won't use it. We just need to put some pressure on Brett Sprigg, I reckon, from here on out. Ball's back in the centre. What's ahead of us? The final term of the elimination final as Natanui wins it down against Cameron in the middle. Out towards Shuey, gives it back to Cripps. Then to Natanui again by hand. Puts it towards Ryan. Marks in the right forward pocket for West Coast. Again, West Coast out of the middle. They set themselves up with a chance to shoot at goal. And Liam Ryan has the footy in his hands.
Great bit of centre bounce craft. It was a great hit by Nui, but the centre bounce work by Shuey to get, I think it might have been Adams underneath the ball, was just really, really clever.
45-degree angle, 45 out from goal. Ryan's kick is true. The crowd roars in the West as the Eagles bring themselves back within a straight kick. Ryan's first of the night. Collingwood a 9.4.58. The Eagles 8.6.54. We've travelled less than 70 seconds into the final term. Bridget Lacey's downstairs.
Interestingly, Braden Maynard, who has been Liam Ryan's opponent for much of the night, started this quarter on the bench, as did Brodie Grundy again.
Interesting, the Eagles as well. Second term, third term, fourth term have kicked a goal right out of the middle.
Yeah, and it's, as we said all night, that's one of their strengths. And you're right, Shaz. I mean, Shuey knew where the ball was going. He basically sold Adams to come in underneath, and then he spun out on him and then had a lot of space to work in. And again, another CB goal to West Coast. So, yeah, again, Grundy starting off is an interesting one.
Shot of him on the big screen too. Down on the bench.
Back in the middle. The umpire lays it down. Nat Nui flicks it down towards Shuey, who paddles it onto Sheed. He kicks a high ball to half forward. They camp underneath it. Main can't mark. Bouncing ball. Crisp just paddles towards the boundary. Gets a handball away. It's knocked down and will get a throw in between wing and right half forward for the Eagles. So Collingwood lead by 4 points. 2.5 minutes into the final term. Cameron comes from behind Nat Nui. Gets hands to it. Kelly swings through. Gathers. Handball away to Cripps. He puts a spiral into the forward pocket. They chase after it. Allen can't gather. Noble. He's taken down in a tackle. Trying to get rid of it. They're on top of him. The umpire says it's held in. We'll get a stoppage. 25 out in the left forward pocket for the Eagles.
Ball thrown aloft. One down by Cameron. Straight to Cripps. Snaps around the body. Almost incredible. But just misses to the left-hand side. A minor score. Pies lead is 3 points. 3 gone in the fourth.
What we've seen in recent weeks is the West Coast leaders really step up in these close games. We'll see what happens here.
So Moore drives it long out towards the southern wing. Dacos slips over. That allows Cripps to go and get it. Handball to Gaff. He kicks a high ball into the pocket for the Eagles. Ryan a run and jump. Two Pies collide. They go to ground. Darling slaps it back in. Pendlebury's there. The game slows down as it often does when he gets it. Handball back to Adams. Kicks beyond defensive 50 for Collingwood. Nat Nui knocks it back towards the arc for the Eagles. Sheed, handball away. Taken by Greenwood. Has to break a tackle. Does eventually. Gets it away to Dacos, who handballs onto Stevenson.
Stevenson pops the hand pass inboard again to Dacos. Then to Greenwood. Breaks one tackle. Gets away from a second. Kicks Collingwood down the outer wing, but only finds Hearn, who's able to gather and gives it back off to Gaff. Runs the true centre wing. Kicks towards left half forward. Underneath it, Cameron. Cameron was there, and he takes the mark. Nephew of great WA broadcaster Ian Cameron. Breakfast king for many years. Kicks back towards the outer side of the ground. Hoskin Elliott went up, couldn't mark, spilled out to Dacos for the Magpies. Now to Pendlebury. Throws it on the boot, heads towards right half forward, backing back Barras. Good defensive mark for West Coast. Still Collingwood lead. They're up by 3 points. 5 gone in the fourth.
So Barras, left half back for the Eagles. And 3 kicked on him in the opening term. Goes long towards Ryan. Can't take the mark. Then roves it himself. Retreats with the kick. Back to Hearn. Picks it up. Handball to Sheed for the Eagles. Kicks them inside attacking 50. Darling got a little sit, doesn't complete the mark. Cripps roves, off to Allen, snaps on goal and puts the Eagles back in front. His second, and the Eagles lead by 3 points. 9-7-61. They lead the Pies 9-4-58. 5.5 minutes into the final term on Grandstand AFL. Don Pike and Sherrod Wellingham.
And as we've seen, Sherrod, in these moments, it's the leaders of West Coast who stand up. And previously it's been Kennedy, Darling. Ryan there was like his contest there he was cat-like the way he sort of took it, gathered it, and fed it back, and that created the opportunity for him to gain a great contest from Darling.
Darling contest, massive. Cripps has been in and around the play a few times already early in this quarter, and he's really one of those forward 50, or not just in the forward 50, but a leader across the field for them. So
and they can run with such confidence because they know they're going to get a contest. They just know that Darling, Kennedy, Allen will bring the thing to ground, and they can go with free will and spirit.
Dual premiership player Don Pike alongside premiership player Sherrod Wellingham. Great you could join us on ABC Radio. Final term. West Coast back in front of the Magpies. One down by Natanui. Got it to Sheed, then to Redden. Kicks West Coast towards left half forward. Ainsworth, has he given a push? He has against Noble. And he'll have it at right half back for the Magpies. The games have had closer finishes throughout week one of the finals. It was 16 points on Thursday, 15 on Friday, 3 earlier today. Can he get closer again? Kick for the Eagles. Marked, I should say, by Hearn off the Noble kick, and he's got it at left half back. Goes on a bit of a run for West Coast. Down the southern wing. He's able to hit Gaff on the chest. Leaps up and marks. And then moves it on quickly to Redden. Now to Sheed. Hand passes on to Darling in the left forward pocket. Down to Cripps. Wheels around. Spots Waterman. Great spoil Stevenson. Punched it down for the Magpies to Maynard, now to Madgen. He's at left full back, under pressure. He'll kick it out of bounds on the full.
So the Eagles will get it back. The mark will be set 70 from goal. Calder take the kick for the Eagles. They lead by 3 points. He goes into the pocket. Kennedy, unopposed. How did that happen? Kennedy all alone, he takes the mark. 3 metres in from the boundary line, 25 out, right forward pocket.
It's just the West Coast forwards just working together. They're selfless in that respect, and blocks behind the ball, gives Kennedy a free run, and look at it.
Looks as if he wants to snap it on his left. Arcs out, starts it out to the left, bends it back, not quite enough. A minor score, the Eagles lead by 4 points. 8 minutes into the final term. A grandstand finish on Grandstand AFL.
So Moore kicks it in. Waterman waits underneath and just about marks uncontested. Main got there late. 70 from goal at right half forward. Pops it into the right forward pocket. Darling went out after it. Had 3 Collingwood players to beat. One of them's a bit sore too. It was Roughhead. Gets up. Left arm just looking a little worse for wear. Ball over the boundary line for a throw in at right full forward. Spun back into play again. Natanui got rid of Grundy. Threw it on the boot. Bounced off Madgen's chest. Collingwood will look to clear. Noble got it originally from Roughhead. Umpire spots a free kick. It was Roughhead who got shoved into the back after he got the hand pass away. And he'll have it for Collingwood, who trail by 4 points. 9 gone in the fourth. Kicks to a big pack at left half back. Grundy was able to get hands to it. Shepherd tried to work it into the middle of the ground. Redden was there for the Eagles. Gave it in turn to Gaff. Kicked inside forward 50. Ryan did well to spoil it down. It came to Kennedy. Tried to kick around the body. He misses. To the left-hand side. Minor score. 9-9-63 the Eagles. 9-4-58 is Collingwood.
Ryan hits a contest hard, doesn't he?
Maynard with the kick in to Main at left half back. He kicks forward of the wing, or to the wing, and Grundy marks. In front of McGovern. Eagles lead by 5 points.
Collingwood backs will be enjoying this. The ball outside of their front half, or their back half for all. 9-0 inside 50s this quarter. They are just holding on back there.
Grundy goes short to Main, who kicks the Pies to half forward. Barris leaps for the fist. Comes down to Thomas at the back. Almost got through a tackle. Gives it off to Myercheck. On his left from the pocket. Unbelievable. Floats it through. And Myercheck, he kicks his second. And puts the Pies back in front. A sixth lead change of the night. And Collingwood lead by the smallest of possible margins. A solitary point. They're 10-4-64. The Eagles 9-9-63. 10 minutes into the fourth.
And why does it always happen when you one side sort of pressing, and the first time it comes out, in it went, and Myercheck on his left, and I think the look on his face suggested he was even a little bit amazed, but that was a great finish.
It was a missed opportunity to tackle and a great test of the tackle by Josh Thomas, but amazing kick. It wasn't actually even a floater. That was just a dead eye on the left from 45 on the boundary.
He dropped it.
He dropped it. It was like it did a 180 forward on the drop.
And almost swept it. Side foot. I'm not sure how that happened. It did spin conventionally. It did. Strange.
Amazing goal.
Just unbelievable from Myercheck. As Grundy wins it down in the middle again for Collingwood. Getting tackled as Adam Ball came free. Archie looks to try to go in and tackle again. Treloar got a kick away, but only as far as Nelson puts West Coast quickly back inside forward 50. Spoilt came down from Moore. It spilled in the direction of Archie, who snaps at goal, but he missed everything to the left-hand side. Free kick to the Magpies. Now, I'm not sure whether Moore copped one. Wasn't deliberate by Darling across the face, but he's certainly a little bit worse for wear as Collingwood look to move it beyond their defensive 50.
Long kick towards Grundy, who goes up and marks. Brodie Grundy standing up for the Pies. Wants to kick it short. Just finds Main. Low down. If it was in the slips, maybe just would have stood your ground. It was close to the grass. Kicks back to Crisp, who goes short to Grundy again, just backward of the logo. Southern side of Perth Stadium.
I'm not sure what Cox is doing here. He's 75 metres away, calling for it inside. Like, ball's going to land there, and he's nowhere near it. And McGovern marks it.
And McGovern takes the intercept mark. Oh, free kick going the way of the Pies. So Myercheck got a little shove.
I thought that possibly could have been a free kick to Shepherd, who Myercheck's just barrelled into.
He did get a little push from McGovern, which forced him into Shepherd. So Myercheck kicks towards full forward. Underneath it, Ryan. Down at the defensive end. Takes the intercept mark for the Eagles. The Pies lead by a point, 13 minutes into the fourth. Grandstand AFL.
Not normally where you expect to see him taking the big marks, but there he was, Liam Ryan, and going beyond defensive 50. Hackett left half back, no mark taken. Redden picks it up, hand pass forward, taken by Collingwood's Greenwood, right up against the boundary, throws it on the boot. Tracking it towards the line was McGovern. The hand pass was knocked down by Elliott, spilled there for Nelson of West Coast. Kick beyond defensive 50 again. Darling up. Takes a strong mark. Oh, no, again the free kick going against West Coast. Free kicks, I think, 16-10 or thereabouts throughout the game. Myercheck will have it. And I'll be honest, what did you make of the replay?
I think that was there.
Yeah.
Looking at Shuey, I'm not sure he did anything other than try and protect Darling in the marking contest.
Throw back inside forward 50. McGovern's front position, and he takes the defensive mark. Oh, no, he didn't. Must have been touched on the way through. The umpire says play on. Everyone stops, including the commentator. Umpire says we will ball it up.
The last two entries of Collingwood in there, Ryan marks it, McGovern almost marks it. They've got to, if they're going to, got to get it back to ground.
Well, Grundy down to DeGoey from the right forward pocket. That would be truly stunning. How on earth has he kicked that? He's got a second. And Collingwood all of a sudden have gone out to a 7-point lead. Nothing short of top shelf finishing from Jordan DeGoey. The Magpies 11,470 to West Coast 9,963. 15 gone in the final term. And I reckon 33,000 people just picked their jaw up off the floor.
Some big moments, as we mentioned, at three-quarter time, Don.
Yeah, and we've seen it. There's a couple of free kicks to Myercheck, and then he stands up here, just the ball spills out to the side, and I mean that's just a quality finish, and that's what players of his ilk are capable of doing. And great finish, and gives Collingwood now a little 7-point break with three-quarters of the way through the quarter.
Heavens above.
That was remarkable. That was an incredible goal.
Some good impact from
that. He loves the big moment, the big stage. And
well, we're back to Nat Nui and Cameron in the centre bounce here. So West Coast have a habit of just rushing this ball out and picking one back. You'd expect in the context of this game that could well happen.
The umpire puts it down. Nat Nui slaps it. Elliott comes and gets it for the Pies, though. Squeezes a kick to Hoskin Elliott on the wing. Has a man forward. It's Thomas. He gathers the handball. Looks inside 50. Tries to find a goey. He juggles it. Doesn't mark it. Ball spills out. Treloar away to Adams. Falling to ground. Gets a kick away towards the pocket. Myercheck. Myercheck's marked it. Deep in the left forward pocket. And this is a massive moment in this elimination final for Brodie Myercheck. This would be just about enough.
Didn't have a huge first three quarters, but has made a fair impact in this last quarter, Myercheck.
He's going to hook it around on the right boot with the banana. Arcs out. Never looked like missing. Collingwood lead by 13 points. Myercheck's got 3. We're 17 minutes into the fourth term on Grandstand AFL. Don Pike, Sherrod Wellingham. Is there a way back for the Eagles now?
Well, there's a stunned silence around the crowd, isn't it?
There certainly is a way back, Don. I think the Eagles will have confidence, but it's been a great effort by Collingwood so far this quarter.
Yeah. I mean, they've got that centre bounce there with their clearance there, got it in nice and deep, hunted it around, and, it was just a sort of a kick forward, but again, deep. Ask the question of West Coast defenders, and Myercheck takes a great mark. He's, as you say, he's had a great last quarter, hasn't he?
McGovern just wasn't quite ready for the contact to come from behind, and might have been...
That's how he plays, though, McGovern. He'll go for that mark versus, the more conservative would be spoil it and get it out of bounds, but... Myercheck went for it as well, and he got it done.
The Eagles had a perfect record at this ground through the home and away season. It will count for naught unless they can fight their way back in the last few minutes as Natanui wins it down out after it's Shuey. Trying to work it in the direction of Waterman. Piling on top of it, Adams shoveled it forward. Met by Duggan, though, of West Coast. Bounces a kick inside forward 50. Archie's onto it. Madgen's right with him. Scooped up nicely by Cripps. Hand passed over the shoulder to Darling. Threw it on the boot. Spun around in the circle as he did so. And up is Cameron. Marking defensively for the Collingwood Football Club at right full back. And they'll move it across the face of goal. Maynard under real pressure. Tackled by Gaff. Just got a hand pass out. Spilled though to Ryan. Ryan hard up against the boundary. Centres the kick. Perfect. Kennedy marks. Oh, few nervous moments from Collingwood. Will they be made to pay?
He is butter with the ball.
Just to have the composure in that situation, to assess it, not blaze away at goals, and then to thread the needle straight through to find Kennedy. That's just outstanding forward play.
The delivery from Ryan was gorgeous. The kick on goal from Kennedy's precise. From 30 out, just to the right of centre. He gets his third. West Coast, they will not go quietly into the dark nights.
Back to Sherrod's stat now. When Kennedy kicks 3, they don't lose. So
that's right.
You're riding that home, Sherrod?
No, I'm not riding it home. But
7 points in Collingwood's lead, 19 gone in the final term.
Amazing effort from Gaff to put that smother. He knew Maynard was going to play. I think he may have pressed off. It might have been the winger that Gaffey's pressed off, so he knew Maynard was going to try and play on, and a great smother, just anticipating the play.
Forced the turnover there, and I see now Collingwood have started Myercheck on the back of the square here. Looks like they're going to drop him as a loose player behind the ball, so expect Dacos to come up and take the wing, and which is interesting.
I think it's too early for that because there's
a lot of game to go here, and I wonder whether that sends West Coast a signal we're going to stop trying to score here, and this could basically lead to the game being played in West Coast half if they're not careful here, Collingwood.
20 minutes played, fourth term. The Pies lead by 7. Umpire bounces it in the middle. Nat Nui goes up high early. Grundy finishes up with the football. It's not coming out. We'll try again.
Collingwood have been so productive all night with 6 forwards, and now they're giving West Coast a free defender.
Umpire puts it aloft. Grundy slaps it down. Then Grundy goes and gets it. Handball to Main. Allen wins it back for the Eagles. His handball goes straight up in the air. Still they fight for it. Adams eventually shovels out a handball. Elliott, a clever little toe poke. Comes to Degoe. Run down. Kelly got him. Just gets a kick away. A high up and under. Duggan with the fist. Back into the middle of the ground. Adams, handball to Dacos. Handball to Quaynor. He kicks to half forward. Touched on the way through. Stevenson, no, paid the mark. The Eagles are saying it was touched. Took a big deflection. But Stevenson paid the mark.
So Stevenson sends it deep inside forward 50. Spoil came from Barris. Spills out to Greenwood. Threw it on the boot. Kicked around the body. Was touched on the way through. Barris gathered. Got tackled by Hoskin Elliott straight away. And still a number of Eagles asked the question, what happened just a moment ago?
Well, I think Stevenson thought it was touched. He was moving to play
on
until he got tackled. He was going to release the ball.
One down by Natanui Cole with the clearing kick towards left half back for the Eagles. Quaynor tries to pick it up, hit the deck. He goes a second time. Darling tackles him, spilled out to Ryan, gave it to Allen. He's able to manufacture a kick towards the outer wing. Roughhead got there first, tackled by Cripps. Wraps him up. It's going to be balled up right against the boundary. Eagles fans suggesting he didn't do enough to get rid of it. Umpires unconvinced. Ball up the decision. It's still Collingwood by 7 points. 23 gone in the final term.
Umpire puts it up. Grundy hooks it down, then tries to clear it with a kick. Ricochets to Main. Adams off a step. Kicks a high ball towards just forward of the logo. Hoskin Elliott went early. He's given away a free kick. So McGovern will have it. He'll switch the play towards Waterman on the logo. He'll thump it long. Inside attacking 50. Collingwood have the numbers. There's that loose. Brody Myercheck takes the intercept mark. The Pies lead by 7. 22.5 into the final term.
They need to be calm and accurate in front of goal. Madgen goes right back to fullback, and in his defensive goal square, more marks. He'll now get told to move it on. Sends it beyond defensive 50. Cox is the target, and he marks for Collingwood. 211 centimetres of him. Kicked 3 goals in about 4 minutes in the opening term. Good mark that time. In defence. Kicks back towards the commentary wing. McGovern hit the pack. Dragged in the mark. Kicks quickly. He's able to find Waterman. Has it for West Coast. Just forward of the wing. He'll put it inside forward 50. Big numbers underneath it. Ryan flew from the side. Spilled out the back. Tapped down by Kennedy. Might have been taken high. He was. And he'll get the free kick right in front of goal. Or Darling, rather. So Darling, the player, infringed, and it was Darling who made the tap. So Jack Darling, from the free kick, right in front, steers it through. It's a 1-point ball game. 24 minutes gone in the final term. Darling has 3. Collingwood's lead 1 point. 12-4-76. West Coast 11-9-75. 24 gone. Closing stages of what's been a beauty on Grandstand AFL, the elimination final between the Eagles and the Magpies.
Very similar to Oscar Allen's one in the first quarter. Just unnecessary from Chris, but it's just a very soft free kick 20 metres out from goal. You know, and the stage of the game, you just didn't need to do it.
Did not need to do it, but you put your arms down as you're trying to smother a ball, but I don't know, do you leave them up? It's a tough one, but it was definitely there, and it was Unnecessary.
So Cameron is in the ruck for the Pies. He stares across at Nick Naitanui.
Waterman's equalised with Myercheck now, who's probably trying to drop back still, but becomes a 7-on-7 if he does.
Yep. The Pies lead by a point. 24 minutes into the final term. Naitanui knocks it down. Cameron gets it. Naitanui takes him down in a tackle. Adams with the clearance. Noble, he jams it on the boot. High up and under. Gaff gets a fist on it. Quaynor, away to Adams. He tumbles it towards half forward for the Pies. The Pies have the numbers. Hoskin Elliott picks it up, kicks to a leading Cox. Spoiled down. Treloar off a step for the win. It's across the face. McGovern gets it in the back pocket, and he can spread it to right half back.
One more chance for the Eagles. Waterman has it, moves it on to Gaff. Gaff will stab it towards Kelly. Marks on the logo. Hand pass to Cole. Great tackle, ran straight in to Adams. The ball spills out to Pendlebury. Anywhere will do. Kicks towards left half forward. Hoskin Elliott marks. Collingwood will soak up every second. And Hoskin Elliott sensibly back towards Noble, who marks on the wing. The Eagles had one more chance. They couldn't convert. Adams impressive. Collingwood will live to fight another day. They win another epic between these two sides. The Magpies by a point. The Eagles' season is done. Collingwood through to the semis. 12-4-76 to West Coast 11-9-75.
See the barricades are shouting as all barricades should. Oh, the premiership's a cakewalk for the good old Collingwood.
What a contest in the West. Collingwood led by 16 points at quarter time. That was cut to 3 by the half. They went back to a 10-point advantage at three-quarter time and just hung on to win by the barest of margins. 12-4-76 to 11-9-75. They booked themselves a semi-final against the Cats next week.
Good old Collingwood forever. They know how to play the game. Side by side they stick together to uphold the Magpies' name. See the barricades are shouting as all barricades should. Oh, the premiership's a cakewalk for the good old Collingwood.
Just take a breath for a moment if you've been listening around the nation. Collingwood, they go through. What a win and what a contest. Impossible to believe, as I mentioned during the call, but the games, they got closer as the finals of week 1 continued. 3 points earlier today for the Saints. 1 point tonight. Collingwood sheer delight. The toughest of any team with what they had to face in the first week of the finals. They came across to the West, did their 7 days in quarantine, and then have beaten West Coast. The Eagles losing for the first time at Perth Stadium in season 2020. What an absolutely spectacular contest. The goal kickers, 3 to Cox, 3 to Myercheck, 2 to DeGoey, singles to Elliott, Hoskin Elliott, Adams, Noble, and alongside him, behinds to Treloar and Stevenson. While for the West Coast Eagles, Josh Kennedy kicked 3 goals, 4. Darling with 3-2. Allen kicked 2. Cripps with 1-2. Ryan kicked a goal, and Ainsworth with 1 as well. Naitanui the 1 behind. Collingwood in front of a crowd of 32,865 will emerge from the West victorious. They'll take on Geelong at the Gabba on Saturday night Eastern. Sharrod Wellingham, Don Pike, how do you assess that?
Well, that was a fantastic game of footy. You know, it ebbed and it flowed all through the night, and Collingwood come out on top, and all credit to them. They came across, and
I feel like they may have really focused themselves and steeled themselves as a group right from the messaging from Bucks for that. So it was a really good effort from them mentally, I think, to come over and
they hung in, didn't they? They got headed by West Coast a couple of times in that second half, and just found a way. And it was. Even at the end there, that last shot, Treloar has a shot for goal. It bounces on its head and goes straight to McGovern. And then there's a counter-attack on from right by the point post. And, just their work rate to get back. And then Adams, I think it was, who pressed hard to smother the goal kick. It's those moments, and we spoke about it at three-quarter time. That's what finals does. There's elevation from some players. And West Coast will be bitterly disappointed, to lose the game. But when you lose by under a goal, it's a matter of moments and a matter of just little opportunity to bounce the ball here or there, and to Collingwood's credit, they fought it out, and they got a great win for their footy club tonight.
And just to add a little bit of insult to injury, the West Coast Eagles now have to go into 2 weeks of quarantine here in Perth because they've played a club which hadn't completed 2 weeks of quarantine here in Perth, so that won't be much fun for them. But the moment's really about Collingwood, and as you said, Sharad, Nathan Buckley had seemingly steeled them for the contest, and they did hang tough after Mason Cox was dominant in that first quarter to get them in front, and they're able to just chip away and eventually hold on to win and advance to take on Geelong, who they beat last year in the finals.
Nothing dirty about the Magpies tonight, no matter how they were described in the WA press and indeed around the nation over the last couple of days. That is a huge win. Jordan De Goey's second goal will go down as one of those great final goals too. I still cannot believe how he kicked that. That was spectacular. The stop in the middle from Adams when it looked like the Eagles, they had the space and they had the run. It came to Cole, as Don said, and then Adams was able to, smother. It was a tackle, smother, and both. Just was able to come straight at Cole and put him under pressure. And that was enough. With about 20 seconds left from that point on, Collingwood were able to hang on to the football. The Eagles, they bow out of 2020. Last year, they made their way through to a semi-final, winning in the first week of finals, the elimination final against Essendon. They haven't been able to go as far in season 2020. And it would be tough to take losing on their home deck. Collingwood, there will be an enormous cheer from the Collingwood supporters, and they are well supported here in Perth, like they are right around the nation. They've waited for them as they've made their way off the ground, and they thank their cheer squad here at Perth Stadium at the Polly Farmer end as well. So Collingwood just waiting for the last interview to be completed by the television broadcaster. They're speaking downstairs to Taylor Adams after that wonderful stop we mentioned before. Kicked a goal as well tonight. What a way to celebrate your 150th. 31 of those with GWS. But he's a Collingwood player now. He's through to the next week. Through to the semi-finals at the Gabba. If you've just joined us, repeating the news from the AFL. Semi-final on Friday night. Richmond got what they wanted. They've got the game at the Gold Coast up against St Kilda. That's on Friday night. Saturday night will be Geelong and Collingwood now. The Magpies winning through over the West Coast Eagles. We'll spend a bit of time over the next 50 minutes or so, hear from hopefully both coaches down in the rooms and have a look at what might come over the next week or so and what this result means for the West Coast Eagles. A 1-point win to the Magpies in the most epic of encounters again. We mentioned right off the top these battles between these crosstown rivals, they just always deliver. And Nathan Buckley, a shot of him down in the rooms, banging on one of the ice spins as his team make their way into the Collingwood rooms. We'll take the club song when we can. Vixen, Storm and Pies, says one of our correspondents. Oz Jock, good result. He'd certainly be celebrating. as Collingwood make their way around. It's an enormous win in hostile territory. Let's hear the club song from the Maggies. Initial thoughts after you've had a chance to get your breath back, gents? Don, Sharad?
Well, initial thoughts are it was a great game.
Of
it was a great game to watch, and it's been a great round of. Is it a round? Yeah, it's still a round. It's the first finals round, first week of footy.
First week of the finals.
First week of the finals has been great footy to watch. I think you made the call that each game's got closer in margin, and that one was as close as it can be.
And you could sense from early, Collingwood had come to play. You know, they obviously were disappointed with the round 8 performance, and the game was always it always does in finals with two really evenly matched teams. And the last, three of the last, apart from the round 8 game, basically the last 3 games have gone under a goal. If you talk back to the final into the grand final, obviously, and then tonight's game. So they're evenly matched, and Collingwood came as both had a lot to play with.
I think they can. When a team can travel or go away and can come out and play a really good contested brand of footy and be really up for the fight. I don't think they were that, but I think it was they structured up really well and played a really good game plan tonight.
Yeah, well, they did from the start because they had the 6 forwards. Previously, they'd been sending up an extra to the stoppage. They basically said to Treloar, Adams, Pendlebury, get it done. They went one-on-one with their wings at the stoppage structure to mean that West Coast didn't have the option to feed the ball out to Gaff and their running players, and they forced their defenders to defend. And not that they won every contest, because certainly there were times where West Coast defenders did take some intercept marks, but not to the level that they would have if they had an extra guy down there. And then you had cameos from Cox in the first quarter and Mychek in the last quarter. And, they needed goals from...
of De Goey.
Yeah, and De Goey finishes as he can, and we know he can. But, you get that out of those guys, and all of a sudden, when you're tall players, like, but they both kicked 3. Both kicked 3 for the night, and that's something that's been missing out of their game. They've been not scoring well because they haven't been getting any scoreboard presence from their bigs. And tonight they got that with 6 goals, which... you can't rely upon De Goey and Stevenson and these guys to kick you a winning score, and they got that tonight.
They're an interesting case in the sense that they were missing so many of their important players for a lot of the season. Now they seem to have come back. How different are they now to what they were in the middle part of the season, and do we need to maybe give them a real chance at maybe making a little bit of a run at it throughout the finals?
Yeah, I think the thing for Collingwood is they've never really been able to get a settled team. Their injuries have just meant there's different guys coming in and out, and if you started the year, you would have said Collingwood probably top 4. And now they're getting what looks like the majority of their best 22 players. There's some key outs in Howe and a couple others, but and I also think tonight their mids had a win. Yeah, the Collingwood mids won overall.
The West Coast mids took a long time to get into the game. Gaff was at half-time or three-quarter time, had 24 metres gained.
Yeah.
Must have been half-time. He still had an influence and ended up with 300. But for him to have only 24 metres gained at half-time was really something we identified. And then Kelly, Shuey, and Sheed
Greenwood did a great job on Kelly. He had his moments, but he certainly didn't hit the scoreboard and didn't have his usual sort of, he's only had the 12 disposals. Shuey had 14, 9 of which were in the third quarter. Sheed was a bit quieter with 17, and against Treloar with 25. Adams. It's not all about numbers, but it's about their influence. I just thought the Collingwood mids overall in the night got the job done. And that goes a long way, and generally the best midfield wins, and again tonight by a point. And generally when you lose, as I said, when you lose by under a goal, it's a moment in time, and we saw that in the grand final. They lose by under a goal, and the moment in time goes West Coast way, and Sheed kicks that goal on the back of 3 contested marks. They win a grand final tonight. They nearly kicked the sealer with Treloar, and then there's a great smother down here from Adams, and that stops the flow. If that gets through, maybe you get a different result. So, but credit to Collingwood, they came over and...
At that stage, there's still probably 20, 25 seconds left on the clock too. So it goes in there. You don't have to score off that forward 50 play. You get a stoppage. It's multiple.
Well, the other thing is, after he smothered it, the guy who got hold of the ball was Scott Pendlebury. And he didn't panic and blaze away. He just looked around the corner. He spotted Hoskin Elliott, I think it was, out of his corner of his eye, chipped it around, and then once he took that mark, it's game over.
Cool. And they were smart. They then went back, uncontested mark, centre wing. There was 9 seconds left. They knew they had the game in their hands.
Right in front of the bench. They were all jumping around saying, settle it down. History repeats for Tim Kelly. He was at Geelong last year, had his finals campaign ended by Collingwood. And once again, a change of colours for him, but the same result with Collingwood ending his season.
And a lot of the numbers are, as you expect with a 1 point game, a lot of numbers are really even. And as I said, throughout the night, it sort of just ebbed and flowed. And Collingwood find themselves ahead at the end. And there was probably a little period of play there where there was a couple of free kicks over the far side, which I'm sure people will go, well, what were the free kicks to my check for the 2 blocks? And then there was the missed McGovern mark. But we also had the missed Thomas mark in the, I think it was just for half-time. So there's always going to be those moments within games. I don't think they were pivotal in the result, but I would imagine there would be some sense of frustration for some of the things which maybe, the McGovern one early in the game, which led to a Collingwood goal. But that's the rubber footy.
I think the Cox period at the start of the game, 3 goals in 5 minutes for Mason Cox is really interesting. And I know you've already explained it, Don, but sometimes I need things repeated. How did the Eagles do that? Because seemingly you can't go in by air. And Shaz, you can explain this. You were previously a part of that West Coast Eagles defensive movement. And the Pies were able to pick it apart and have it work.
I think it was less of a case of pick apart. I think the Pies just said, we're going to play 6 forwards. And they sit there, especially at the stoppage, they sit the 6 forwards a little bit off the stoppage. And it gauges the West Coast defenders. So it means I'm still worried about my direct opponent, but I don't have a free run to roll off and come off my man and support. So they actually did a pretty good job, I thought, of just almost hooking
making them accountable.
And then out of the stoppage, they were able to use that forward handball, which created them running into space, which automatically means that you've got time and space entries going into the forward line, and they're going in deep. And there's not a defender alive who wants to defend a deep, quick ball landing 20 metres out from goal. It's, with some pressure on the ball, but early in the game there was not enough. And then
particularly when your opponent's 211 centimetres.
Standing behind you, you don't know which way he's going.
And the thing I was most impressed about with Cox is intent when the ball came in with his body work and not only his jump, because previously he's taken some good marks jumping out, but he out-bodied McGovern on one of them, and the other times he was flying. And that's the thing, when you fly with intent, you're either going to get a chop-free kick or you're going to mark it, and that was the thing that I thought was really impressive from Cox early. And Kennedy and Darley do that all the time, and they were influential, I thought, as forwards. I mean, Kennedy's had 7 shots at goal, Darling's had 3 and probably had more score involvements than anyone else on the ground, and they were really impressive, I thought, as the key forwards at West Coast. But when you lose by a point, you don't. It's not like you've done a lot wrong. It's just you just don't quite get it done. So
don't have one of those moments that gets you in front of it.
Correct. And it's a weird feeling because you walk into a change room. You look at Collingwood change room, they won by a point, and it's a lot of things are just glossed over. Yeah, we got done by a point. You lose by a point. It's like, oh, we should have done this. We could have done that. It's like it's a fine line between pleasure and pain, as they say, Clint.
Do we need to the Divinals? Very good track. Do we need to pay a lot of credit to Nathan Buckley, because there has been people calling for a long time to see forwards actually play as forwards, and he was prepared to do that tonight. He was prepared to say, we're just going to leave our front 6 up there and actually make it a lot tougher for them. You mentioned we didn't get to see what West Coast, Ben calls it the no-fly zone, but they do so well where you're prepared to actually see. I knew I'd use that line eventually. Are prepared to actually come off and look, I'll back myself. I can leave my man. I can go over here. They weren't able to do that because of where people would camp themselves.
Yeah, and that's credit to him, and probably from a selection viewpoint, they bring in Cameron, which gives them another tall option to go, well, if we're going to kick the ball in. But for me, it was clear. I talked about Cox's intent, but it was clear for all of them. There were probably, I can recall probably half a dozen times tonight where they didn't get a genuine contest on the ball to bring it to ground. And that's when alarm bells started going off, when it was all of a sudden an intercept mark. It's, no, if you're going to play forward tonight against this defence, you've got to at least either mark it or bring it to the ground. Otherwise, it's very hard. Guys get caught in between pressing in to try and win a ground ball or trying to just stay in the midfield. And, as I said, they didn't get it right all the time, but certainly it was an improvement on probably what I saw last week against Port Adelaide.
Just a little tidbit. I mentioned it during the commentary. John Noble, I know he came into the side midway through last year, but he was 22 then. He's 23 now. He's become pretty much a first-choice player for Collingwood and looks a really neat piece. Uses it well,
when he came in, I think in his first couple of games this year, he was amazing. He was providing all of Collingwood's run off the back line and using the ball really well. And, yeah, he's been a really good find. Where did he get drafted from?
From South Australia.
Yeah, he was South Australian. He was playing at West Adelaide, and he was picked up in the mid-season draft last year, which is fantastic. He's, obviously I know his father David coached with him at the Crows, and loves his footy and works super hard on his footy. So he was one of those classic mature age. Here's an opportunity, and he's just grabbed it and run with it. And he's quick. He's got, as you say, good, nice, neat skills, and fits their style of play. So between him and Quaynor and Chris back there, they provide some good defensive stuff, but some really good rebound and ball use, so which is important to the way they set up.
And if we're speaking about moments, which we have, it's just a moment here, a moment there, a flash of brilliance. Jordan De Goey, he doesn't need much. I mean, I think of that goal that, he kicked a couple. He sidestepped a couple of Eagles and was on his non-preferred, kicks it from 45. And then the one in the pocket where really he's almost running away from goals, snaps across his left shoulder from 35, and he's able to somehow find the middle.
That's a hard kick to... The ball's going away from the goal face. To be able to get that angle so spot on that it goes through is a really, really talented kick. But no, he's done an amazing job, and he always rises to the occasion. I remember the first... Was he the first goal kicker in the 18 grand final? And I just remember him kicking a lot of really good goals in finals.
Yeah, well, he's just a quality player, and that's what you get at the high-end talent. You get those moments, and the left foot goal in the third quarter, I think, when West Coast was had some control in the first half of that quarter, was just sort of took the edge off that little run they had, and then his goal at the end, which was virtually the one that put them, as it turned out, unassailably in front, even though Sherrod, you had Josh Kennedy 3 goals equals Eagles win. That's now been broken.
That's been broken.
Was just one which you can't. I mean, that's just talent and execution and, coming the moment, coming the man sort of thing.
Can you think of a better, he says as he actually flicks through his book, can you think of a better first week of finals? For all the doom and gloom that the season has had to endure, and there have been times when, understandably, we wondered whether we'd get any games whatsoever, and what the AFL's done to get the season through really does mean, they need a huge pat on the back for it. But I'm just flicking through thinking, we've had the games decided, the biggest margin's 16 points. Port by 16 over Geelong, Brisbane by 15 over Richmond, St Kilda by 3 over the Bulldogs, and then this epic tonight, where it just got better in terms of how close they were, by 1 point Collingwood over West Coast.
My only gripe is that the games have been too quick.
Yes, that's exactly it. I'm flicking back through since I've been calling, going right back to 2007, and I can't see anything in terms of the first week of the finals that has gone anywhere near as close as this. You can go right back to 2007. There were 2 3-point games, Hawthorn and Port Adelaide. Port by 3 over West Coast and Hawthorn by 3 over Adelaide, but there was also a 38-point win to Collingwood over Sydney and a 106-point win for Geelong over North Melbourne, but nothing as close as what we've seen. So it really has been the most spectacular start to a finals campaign. And again, with empathy and with sympathy for our friends in Victoria who still are stuck at home, and we don't know the situation and when that will all improve, but they've got something to look forward to next week. All Victorian battles in the semi-finals. Richmond and St Kilda, Geelong and Collingwood. They won't be able to see them live, of course, unfortunately, but still, with footy being so important for people's entertainment at the moment with COVID-19, at least the Victorians will be able to enjoy what they're going to be able to see for at least another week, and then we'll see who goes through to the preliminary finals. There will at least be Victorian representatives in the preliminary final. Of course, Port Adelaide and Brisbane currently waiting to see where they will go from there.
I think the thing, just jumping there, Clint, the games have been close, but what I loved about tonight's game is it had some flow. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a dour sort of just
arm wrestle
contest to stoppage to jacket forward to just, like scroungy sort of dirty game. It was actually... It broke into some flow, and some of the goals,
some marks, there was some
transition.
goals.
It was good footy. It was really good footy to watch, and obviously the result didn't go the way of West Coast, and West Coast fans will be ruining that. But it was a good game of footy. It wasn't a 5-4 game. It was fantastic.
It was fantastic. Let's go downstairs and speak to one of the Collingwood players, Adam Treloar. Good enough to join us. He was terrific tonight. 25 disposals, led the way for the Magpies, and indeed from both clubs. Adam, welcome to Grandstand AFL.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Goodness me. We've got no fingernails left up here. It was breathless at the end. What was it like out there?
Yeah, I've got no voice. My voice is killing me. I was too busy celebrating at the end. But it was an incredible atmosphere. We haven't had that this year. Obviously, we're used to playing in front of 60, 70,000 people at the G, barracking for us. So obviously playing at the Gabba and not having that capacity crowd has been quite unique. So coming out here, we knew it was going to be very hostile for us and, very dominant crowd for the Eagles. So, to be a part of a game like that, I think we did the exact same thing last year with almost the same score. So that was probably my favourite win of my life. Now that probably tops that tonight.
With good reason, I would imagine. There are always big moments in big finals. What stood out for you tonight?
I think the plan that we had going into the game, I wouldn't say there was... Obviously, there's moments where you could think the contested marks that Brodie, Darcy Cameron and Coxie shared across the game. There was a couple smothers. I know there was a smother near the end of the game where Taylor Adams does what he does week in, week out and smothers the ball. But I think the plan that we went in with the game and being more direct and aggressive with our ball movement. We know we've been sort of criticised in a way with how we attack the game when we have ball in hand. We've always been a good defensive side. So, it's very pleasing that we were able to attack, I guess, the last line and give ourselves a good opportunity to score.
Adams, Sherry William, congratulations on the win here. We kind of noticed that up here in the box, the different kind of strategy towards the way you were going to move the ball, but also the way you held your forwards. Was it an instruction to keep them deeper and allow the midfield to open up a bit of space? It looked like there was a little bit more forward handball, releasing someone to, I suppose, overlap play.
Yeah, you're spot on, Sharad. We've like I said, we've sort of been criticised and we're very hard on ourselves internally on how we want to move the footy, and sometimes we get caught handball and ball backwards and not really gaining territory. And when you have guys like Mason Cox, Jordan Ngoe, Darcy Cameron up forward, Brodie Mychek, when we have opportunities to isolate those guys and bring the ball to ground, if they don't take the mark, we always give ourselves a good opportunity to score. And the only way we can do that is obviously what you just said. That's by playing forward footy with overlap hands, getting the runners involved and getting it to them quick and fast, because obviously West Coast like to fold back and get their players back. So that was sort of definitely a plan going in. Felt like probably barring the first 5 minutes of the game where they really, I reckon, had the momentum, we were able to wrestle that back and then settle into the game and really attack that last line with Coxie. And our forwards have done a lot of work throughout the last couple of weeks with connection and, trying to get better use with better entry. So the forwards, mids and the backs have individually been working on that, and I feel like today we definitely played a lot better in regards to how we want to move the footy, but there's still areas where we keep improving. It's going to be an awesome challenge for us come next week against Geelong.
Yeah, you get to get together and get back on the plane, but I think Bucks came out early on and, really made mention of the galvanisation that you guys had brought and the focus. You guys are here to make a big impact in finals. I suppose it's been an interrupted year already, but how you guys really looked focused right from the outset, and what was the messaging inside the club this week and coming out from the first bounce?
Yeah, well, it's obviously been a very unpredictable year, as you could imagine, with obviously the coronavirus and everything that's happened around Australia and in Victoria in particular. So obviously we had a plan when we came back for this season, and that was, we want to win the premiership. That's the goal. That's everyone's goal, and we achieved that first and foremost by making finals. There's the first step to, I guess, having a run at it, and it didn't matter where we finished. We knew that if we come with the right mindset and really focus in and narrow in on our goal in hand, and we play our best footy, take it week by week, because that's the reality of the situation we're in. We have to take it week by week. That will give ourselves a really good opportunity. And the beauty that we have as a footy club is it is a squad mentality, and there are some key players that would be nice to have in a side with Steele Sidebottom and Jeremy Howe, and there's guys there that we'd love to have in. But with the squad mentality that we have and the next man up, with the way we train and the way we've been around each other on the Sunshine Coast, here as well, we've come up with a small group, and we had an awesome training session during the week in preparation for this game. And I think a lot of that stuff can't go unnoticed. So we hold that very highly, and we value that very highly as a group. So that's going to be the plan this week. I mean, externally, again, people probably aren't going to rate us like they didn't coming into this game. I don't think anyone in the footy world rated us to beat the Eagles here. I guess rightfully so, because they're a hard team to beat here, and we hadn't been playing the most consistent footy. But the confidence that we have individually and as a footy group in each other, it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks. So we're going to have that same mindset going into this week's game. We know Geelong really well. We respect them extremely highly as a footy club, and it's going to be a great challenge for us.
Oh, Adam, Don Pike here. Congratulations on a fantastic win. I could see from the look on the faces down there, they're great wins those to be part of. Just quickly, Levi Greenwood tonight on Tim Kelly. How did you see his game?
If there was right up there as one of the best games I've ever seen an individual play to come in and I guess play that role and sacrifice what he does to stop Tim Kelly, and then on the flip side have an impact with ball in hand. You see a lot of players who do go to nullify opposition players that their sole focus is to stop them and not really worry about the ball. Where when Pig, obviously his nickname's Pig, when he gets the ball, he's so dynamic and strong through the hips. So yeah, he was unreal. I think he's been playing down back most of the year, and most of the games he came in and played. So he sort of knew early he was going to get that challenge. And Tim Kelly is a very highly respected player in the competition, and one that we recognise as someone who could do a bit of damage if we let him have some space. And I think, Pete came in and played, like I said, one of the best games I've seen in individual play. He's such a team-first man and sacrifices a lot for the team. So we love having him inside.
Terrific to talk to you, Adam. Congratulations on the win. It was another epic between these two clubs. Best of luck for what is to come. Geelong on Saturday.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
So straight from the Collingwood rooms, let's head across to the West Coast rooms. No doubt different feelings in there. And well done to Liam Duggan, who's been good enough to join us on Grandstand AFL. Your reflections on the game, Liam? Always tough to take, but particularly when they're so close.
Yeah, g'day, fellas. It's obviously disappointing, and just hearing Adam speak then, you obviously get quite jealous at how the result panned out. That it's obviously disappointing, and we spoke about that any year that you're a shot to win the flag. It's disappointing. So we didn't give ourselves a shot tonight, and it's a bit of a sombre mood down here.
We asked the same question to Adam because there are just those moments in a one-point game, but what did you think were the moments looking back that affected the result, giving it Collingwood's way?
We both fired our shots in the last quarter, and I think there was momentum swings within that last that we probably just weren't able to handle their sort of forward pressure and charge, and they took their opportunities when they had them. So that was probably the difference in that last quarter there. Every time they sort of went down, they looked pretty dangerous.
Liam Duggan from the West Coast Eagles chatting with us in the wake of their 1-point loss to Collingwood earlier tonight. Liam, where were you on the field in that final dash when McGovern got it in the back pocket and the Eagles were a chance to go coast to coast?
Yeah, I was coming through the corridor a little bit behind sort of thing, but I sort of knew that was going to be our last shot, and we got a pretty good look at it, but again, Collingwood's pressure, got to give credit to them. They brought it right up until the last minute, and we all knew that was probably our final chance, and they were able to nullify it. So, that was the game there.
Duggo, Shaz here, mate. Congratulations on a really good season. Commiserations on the loss. It has been a really tough season. Is there any? I know it might be a bit early, but is there any sense that you're kind of glad that the season's over and you can sit back and recoup and get ready for the season next year?
Yeah, thanks, Jazz. It's obviously disappointing. The first sort of, I suppose, feeling that we get is that disappointment. We want to be playing deeper into the finals.
Yeah.
And all of that. But it has been a tough year, and Adam spoke about it too. It's been tough for everyone. Sort of the balancing act, and it's already October and whatnot. Obviously, we want to play for another 3 weeks, and we're disappointed about that. But we're into another 2 weeks of quarantine, so that's probably just another little added hit for us. But it's just disappointing and not too happy that the season's finished now.
Liam, before we hear from Don Pike, I'll dive in. There might be some good news on that front, actually. The government today saying that you might only have to serve 7 days of quarantine, so that will be till October 10. I know 7 days is still not great, but there seems to be some conflicting reports. We are hoping that it is only 7 more days, so fingers crossed for you on that front. Don Pike, I know, has got a question.
Yeah, Liam, Don here. Look, commiserations on today's result. Was there anything from the round 8 game to tonight's game that Collingwood did differently that surprised you, or which you think maybe was influential in the result going the wrong way?
Yeah, thanks, Boy. It's tough to remember back to that game. Obviously, the result was heavily in our favour that day, and probably one of the better days that we played. And I'm sure Collingwood reflected on that game, and it was probably one of their poorer ones. But I think we all know how finals footy is played, and the tougher for longer mindset, the hunt around the footy, and I thought we both had a pretty good crack there tonight. And as I said before, they took their opportunities when they got them forward, and I think that was probably where it was won again. Just around the footy, it seemed to be much more of a heated contest the whole day. It was never a whole lot of breathing space for anyone. So a big difference that round 8 game was definitely the contest.
You sort of touched on this before, Liam, but a last one from me before we let you go, and we really do appreciate you having a chat to us after the 1 point loss. But Adam Simpson's reflections, did he talk about the season downstairs? Did he actually go through whether or not he thinks, you were a great chance of winning a flag this year with the quality of players that you have? How did he reflect when he spoke to the group?
Yeah, we had a brief little chat there just at the end of the game. There's obviously plenty of disappointed boys and staff, and not the way we wanted to finish, but as I said before, obviously no one's happy unless they're winning a flag, but the positives we took away from the year was the diversity of the year and what we dealt with. We thought we handled that quite well, and also we were able to get plenty of new blokes into the side this year, and we did it under some pretty tough circumstances with some of our stars out there at the end of the year. So there were some positives to take away from the year, but tonight the feeling's a little bit sad.
We can ask you this question now because you're officially out of the finals. Who do you think will go all the way from this point in time? Who's impressed you most of the sides that are left?
Yeah, I think the two winners in those first finals was Port and Brisbane. Brisbane looked really good last night. I thought that was a great game to watch, and thought they brought the heat all day, and was really impressed by them. And then obviously Port are so strong. We've seen what they've been able to do all year, and we copped them earlier on in the year, and they've been strong since then. So those two sides I think are looking really strong.
Good on you for chatting. Good luck for the off-season. Hopefully it is just 7 days. Go and speak to the powers that be. Maybe we've given you some good news. And thanks for chatting to us on Grandstand AFL.
Thanks, fellas.
Good on you. Liam Duggan downstairs. I always appreciate and always respect the players who are prepared to front up after what must be just a heartbreaking loss, going down by a point. Really good of him to share some time with us here on Grandstand AFL. Stick around. We're on for the next 25 minutes here with Don Pike and Sharad Willingham. And then for our listeners throughout WA and on Grandstand Digital, brand new show moving across from the digital realm onto local radio in the West. Corbin and Ben will run through what has been a fantastic first week of finals. This is it for us, gents. So here's our chance to actually run through a few of what's going to come over the next couple of weeks. Who wins for you from here on out from what you have seen? We know two sides have massive benefits with Brisbane and Port Adelaide going through. Can you see a shock from the likes of Collingwood? Can Geelong bounce back? Because we know how good they could possibly be. Could it be the fairy tale of fairy tales with St Kilda? What do you think will happen from here on out?
I can't make predictions, hey.
Yeah.
Because
I've never heard anyone sit on the fence more than you did.
I know.
During the week on Corbin and Ben. That was as an expert, Shaz, we love you, but that was pathetic. Come on,
I can't.
I'll jump off the fence. It leans to, for me, the two teams who won on earlier on the weekend in Port Adelaide and Brisbane have the advantage. They get to sit back and wait and freshen up and play. And the game, as we saw tonight, the game at finals levels played with such intensity that it is hard to sustain it. So as good as Collingwood tonight, they've got to back that up next week against Geelong, the following week against, who would it be then, Brisbane, and then if they make it to a grand final, that's at this level, that's tough. So the advantage sits with the two who are there in Port and Brisbane. And the reality is Port and Brisbane have been the best teams all season.
Yeah.
The most consistent and best teams all season. So,
and I reckon Port probably played the best game of football from the final. So Brisbane played a really, really good game. But I think Port Adelaide's pressure and they just had like a pack mentality that whole game. They didn't let Geelong have any time whatsoever. If they play that brand of footy again in the prelim and then obviously in the grand final, they'll be really hard to beat.
Yeah. And look, history says that majority of the times everyone's quick to write off the losers of the qualifying finals and say, oh, look, and the winning teams come up with winning form. That's all good, but you'd expect Geelong to bounce back and play better than they did on was it Thursday night? I can't think how far back it was. Thursday night. Thursday night, and the same you'd expect with Richmond, who we know are a quality side. So, Richmond v St Kilda next week. I'd probably see Richmond getting that done, and Geelong v Collingwood. I mean, Collingwood's going to, as they played really well tonight, if they can maintain that rage and play with that same intensity and that same structure and system, they can certainly find out whether Geelong are capable, but you'd almost expect Geelong to win, at which point I'll go back to Brisbane and Port.
How much of an advantage is Port being able to be at home and have the prelim at Adelaide? Everybody else, and we know that they've now become accustomed to playing in South East Queensland, but it's not their home ground. How much of a swing does that give Port Adelaide in fighting their way through to a Grandy?
Oh, I think it's massive. I think any time you get a chance to play at home, they get a chance to play in front of their crowd. You could hear that on Thursday night. The crowd, as much as they were here and nearly got West Coast back into it from, 13 points down with 4 minutes to go, and they got within one play of maybe winning the game. So, Port would be happy with that. More importantly, is they get to stay at home, they get to train at their own facility, they don't have to travel anywhere. And at that time, and recovery and everything else is easy. You get up the game day in your bed and you go through your usual routine. So it's a big advantage. And Brisbane have had that for most of the season, given they haven't basically left Queensland I think they've only been away for 1 game or 2 games. So it all points towards it, but they've still got to go and get it done. And what is showing tonight, 8th beats 5th, is a pretty even year. And some good quality footy.
We don't have votes in the ABC Football of the Year, but I will get a 3, 2 and 1 just for giggles from you in just a moment. First vote, Nathan Buckley's just begun his press conference downstairs. Let's take a little bit of that here on Grandstand AFL.
Bucks, can you just describe the feeling right now, winning an elimination final by 1 point against such a great rival?
Yeah, look, it was pretty tight there towards the end. We were able to put a gap in the scoreboard there a couple of times, but they're a good team. They're a good team. Centre bounce goals are the quickest way to cut margins, and we gave up 5 of them for the night. We had a few different strategies, but when you've got a weapon like Nick in the middle, it's a little bit difficult to defend. I think for the most part we made it difficult, but they were still able to get that score on the board quickly and level up at times. So, we had to win it a couple of times.
Bucks, what does it say about the resilience of the group? Last quarter, West Coast hit the lead. It seemed like they had all the momentum there. The crowd's going nuts. Just to steady the ship from that point on and to get the win.
Yeah, look, I think it's validation for us. It's nothing that we're surprised by. We've always had great belief in ourselves, and it's not. It really hasn't been reciprocated. And I suppose you can only be judged on your performances, but we know that we're capable of that type of performance and better again. So we were, we were really focused on a strong performance, and to be able to hold our nerve and to play it out right to the end was clearly important in the result.
Max, can I ask you about Mason Cox? Early on, he just seemed unstoppable. What did you make of his game tonight?
Yeah, look, I think he's coming back into the side sort of in probably the back third of the home and away after really struggling in that middle period, and he's showing us his best football now, and he's very hard to defend when he keeps going to the ball at the highest point. When he's aggressive in his body work, he's really hard to stop. Defenders nearly need to sacrifice a play at the ball to be able to go at him. So we had a lot of effort. We thought our forwards worked really well together in those aerial contests, whether they were up in the middle of the ground or inside forward 50, and that'll provide a few headaches for anyone we play.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, how much of a weapon do you think he'll be? Because when he's got his swagger, he seems just really on fire. Just for the rest of the final series, how big a weapon do you think he'll be?
Yeah, well, you've got to start again, and you've got to pay the price every time that you take the field. So everything that was done tonight is great, and we feel great, and we'll enjoy the win. But we'll recover really quickly. We'll get back tomorrow, and we'll have to roll our sleeves up and go again, which we're more than prepared to do.
And that final turn from Myercheck, can you just let us know what you thought of that?
Yeah, well, I thought, Checkers just keeps working away. He's, obviously to kick a couple of goals and hit the scoreboard is excellent. It's a reward for effort. He's, our forward line has been maligned. We haven't been able to hit the scoreboard as much this year. Scoring in general is down 25% from last year, and we're about 30% down on ours. So that has been problematic, but it hasn't been for lack of supply. We've made a few tweaks, and we think that we're going to provide some better alternatives for our forwards, and they came to the party tonight. The contest was good.
Bucks, can you talk us through how you used Brodie Grundy tonight? Obviously, second half, started him on the bench at the start of the third quarter, the fourth quarter, and then that key last centre bounce with a minute to go. You went with Darcy Cameron. Can you talk us through that, please?
Yeah, well, we wanted Darcy and Brodie to share the load. We wanted to keep Mason forward as much as possible, and we also thought that Nick was going to be a handful, and he proved to be. But we thought that Darcy Cameron, his contest in the ruck is good. He's a natural ruckman. I mean, we've played him forward a few times as a second ruck, but he's a natural ruckman. He's a very good ruckman, and in infield play, he was able to get down the line and help us aerially. And I just thought that the balance was right to share the load amongst those two boys and try and keep the heat on a player who is an All-Australian ruckman this year for a reason.
Right, Bucks, what did you make of Cameron? You've just touched on him slightly then, but in his first final in front of some family and friends, what did you make of his game tonight? His first final?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I think he played just less than 50% of the game, and ultimately, we knew that we needed to select a side, and that we felt was going to execute the plans that we had in place, and for the most part, we did. As I said, I think we could still do better, but we were able to hold those gaps, and we were able to put enough of a score on the board to earn the win and defend well enough against a side that we know can score heavily, especially out of stoppage. But Darcy was good in that role. I thought Josh Dacos stood up in his first final and showed that that he's made for this game, for this level of the game. So, there were some really positive signs from guys that were taking the field for their first final, and that's it's a credit to them to be able to handle the pressure and the expectation that comes with finals, and it's something we'll take with us in the next week.
Nathan, the clearance battle out of centre aside, how happy were you with your midfield and their ability to hold sway against them in general play pretty much throughout the course of the game?
Yeah, look, I think early in the second quarter, I think we were down. It was like 12 clearances to 5, and I think we were still ahead by a goal at that point. So we were able to compete, even when we couldn't get our hands on it. We were able to compete well. Look, the captain played well. Taylor played really well. Ads Treloar played well. So and Levi's job on Tim Kelly was exceptional. So if you can get 3 or 4 of your important matchups right, you've done pretty well. I think most of ours worked pretty well tonight, and our good players, if they weren't very good games, they were really solid games.
Nathan Buckley speaking to the assembled media downstairs after his side's 1-point win in the first elimination final. Victorious tonight, Collingwood 12-4-76 to West Coast 11-9-75. And the earlier result today Another absolute thriller. Both elimination finals were fantastic. St Kilda 10-7-67 to the Western Bulldogs 9-10-64. We've missed doing the numbers. We've had a bit to chat about. So before we get Don Pike's thoughts on his best players tonight, Ben Cameron's got all those in front of him. Benny.
So the full summary, the West Coast Eagles 285 disposals, Collingwood 282. The marks, West Coast 87, Collingwood 61. Kicking efficiency, 69% West Coast, Collingwood 66%. Contested possessions, Collingwood ended up plus 11. The tackles, Collingwood 48, West Coast 42. The clearances, plus 3 West Coast. Inside 50s, Collingwood with 40. The West Coast Eagles 38. Leading ball winners on the ground for Collingwood, Adam Treloar, he was a leading possession getter on the ground with 25. Andrew Gaff with 24. Taylor Adams with 24. The hitouts, Nick Nat-Nui ended up with 24. Brody Grundy with 19. If you wish to break that down even further, Nick Nat-Nui, 7 of those to advantage. Brody Grundy with 4 to advantage.
Who are your best players tonight, gents? Just as an academic exercise, I'm always keen to know which way you see things.
It was
both teams.
It was a 1-point game. It's and
hard.
We'd like to go like the just team effort Collingwood. Can we put that in the paper? Team effort Collingwood, but probably in all seriousness, probably just for the influence on the game across the course of it, we thought Adams was probably best on with 3 votes. Treloar 2, as I said, I thought Collingwood's midfield. Sherrod was
strong.
It was dominant. Those 2 were the leading guys, and Kennedy 7 shots at goal was for me the biggest forward threat the game had. But honourable mentions to Greenwood for his job on Kelly, Cox and Mychek at both ends, as I said, sort of. First quarter, Cox was electric, kicked 3 goals, and same in the last half. Mychek got 3 goals, but 2 in the last quarter. And for West Coast, Darling was influential as a key forward. Cripps worked hard all day, and generally was when he was around the ball, things happened. And that, from a ruck viewpoint, was we thought got the points, and certainly the 5 CB goals came for some of his work. So. They were the better players, but it was a difficult one to actually go through 2-1 because there was sort of little cameos on the way through. There wasn't anyone, apart from the 2 mids and Kennedy, that we felt was probably a full-quarter performer.
I ask as well because a text bobbed up while we were talking beforehand and listening to Nathan Buckley. David from Tasmania, praise everybody in the Pies, but people forget Mychek. Well, I thought he was pretty good tonight. I thought we praised him when he was able to get those 3 really
He was able
goals.
to work his way into the game, but he probably didn't have an impact in that first half, but second half really worked into the game well.
And that goal he kicked was, I don't know how to describe it.
It was like a Zlatan Ibrahimovic strike. Like he threw it out and then just took like a side kick at it.
And it just spun beautifully and went straight through the middle.
It would have been goal of the night for sheer, how did that happen had it not been for Jordan De Goey, who kicked from the right forward pocket, an absolute, how on earth did that happen?
But that's the nature of the game. I mean, you get Mychek kicks that goal, De Goey kicks his goal, and there, again, we talk about moments, but that's, you lose the game by a point, but we saw it in the grand final. Dom Sheed kicks one from the boundary, and that's enough to win a grand final. That's footy. That's why we love it so much.
Another great goal I saw Friday night was Shea Bolton's non-goal.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, that was spectacular.
Not quite, though. It would have been spectacular.
He gathered it in the forward pocket and has dribbled it from probably 35.
I think he knew, though, didn't he?
Yeah,
Just the reaction afterwards.
Didn't celebrate.
Yeah, there was one or two little...
It didn't look like it deviated too much on the telecast, but... From his angle, it must have looked like it deviated because he gave it nothing. And
too honest too. You've almost got to go with the poker face and act confident now. And
stare at the umpire like you're a cricketer asking for a wicket.
The guy on the review, the footage he's looking at, he's none the wiser. He doesn't know. It's a blurry picture that might as well.
There was promote honesty in the game. At the end of it, he can't hide. He's seen it hit the post and he's gone.
It was the snickometer at the edge.
The edge gave him away.
Looked like Stevenson there with a touch ball in the last quarter that was clearly touched. It deflected about 5 minutes.
I called it touched.
Oh, it was clearly touched, and he's marked it and gone, I'm going to move this
play on.
Yeah, then all of a sudden...
No, take time.
Hearn came in and tackled him, and the whistle blew, paid him the mark, and he was the most surprised bloke in the ground. But anyway.
It was these are these moments. I just read this out, and I'll get your thoughts. This is a text, not a comment. Charlie from Gippsland. Do you think West Coast needs more mongrel? I reckon they play too nice. That's Charlie of Gippsland.
It was the knock on them a few years ago, if you don't remember, and Simo really disliked it. And I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. I think it's in this. The way the game's played now, it's fast, it's aggressive, but the whole push and shove's gone. You know, and the gamesmanship that goes with that now is, you know, and they're trying to remove that from the game because it's a bit unsightly and it's just changed. You know, when I was playing, that was a big part of it. The sort of the whole, you know, the Steve Waugh era in the Australian cricket team, the mental disintegration side of things. It was all that bluff and bravado, whereas now that's just gone. Blokes just want to play footy. So I don't think so. I think they didn't get beaten tonight because of a lack of hardness. It was a good, even contest with both teams cracking in.
Can you bring it back in just with a whole team of meatheads like the Philly Flyers?
Bring a bit of ice hockey. Reminder.
Good to see. As long as it's not the Charlestown Chiefs. Anyone who remembers the movie Slapshot?
Yes, exactly.
That is a movie to watch. Don't watch it with your young kids if you're still listening here at 9:23 on the West Coast, 11:23 on the East. By the way, Corbin and Ben coming up. Here's one more question for you. Owen of Bruce Rock, who's always good enough to text in. Go to Cats next week, says Owen. Why is it Liam Ryan never gets pinged for his unsuccessful specky attempts? He never touches the ball, but he gets in the back of opposition players. It was called twice against Collingwood players tonight. I'm just wondering, why doesn't he get pinged? This is Owen from Bruce Rock asking the question. I would say because we all want to see the absolute spectacular mark. And he gets close enough to think, well,
they're not an unreal. The call is an unrealistic attempt.
Yeah, he gets close enough to go, oh well, he could do that.
Yeah. So you're almost suggesting that it depends on who the player jumping is.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't think he does get his hand to most of them.
I think so.
He's not, and he's not moving people out of the contest. He's just launching at the contest.
Well, he just jumps straight over them, just about, doesn't he? He jumps straight up onto bloke's shoulders.
That's the thing. He doesn't take somebody else really out of the contest because he does just generally fly at the ball. And if there's somebody who he is standing on, then
so like most of us, where you sort of have to use your hands to push down on their shoulders to get a bit of leverage to get up there. He just jumps straight up onto them, doesn't he?
Yeah, I
don't know about you, but Pikey just used to launch straight over.
I was very ground-based, Sharon. But I must admit, it'd be interesting to see if Andrew Gaff jumped up at a couple of those, whether they said, that's unrealistic. Maybe it's based on your ability or your capacity, it must be. Anyway, I don't know.
You were ground-based. I was bench-based. That's okay. Collingwood winning tonight by a point, 12-4-76 to 11-9-75. Absolutely spectacular game. Great to see the crowds again. And hopefully they continue throughout the rest of the final series. 32,865 in tonight. The Magpies continue on in season 2020. We've asked for the thoughts on who'll win. Who gets through, though, next week for the semi-finals in the next 60 seconds? Gents, Richmond versus St Kilda, Geelong versus Collingwood. Which way are you leaning?
Richmond for mine.
Yep.
I think Richmond have proven they're a top four, if not a grand final team, so I'd expect them to bounce back and get that done. The Geelong Collingwood's a bit more interesting after Collingwood, what they produced tonight, if they can replicate that. But I would expect Geelong to bounce back.
Sharon?
Yeah, I agree. I think Richmond definitely the side to get on top, but if Collingwood can replicate that game style and bring a little bit of forward momentum instead of just kind of transferring the ball around, I think that they're a definite chance.
Thanks very much to Sharad Willingham, to Don Pike, to Bridget Lacey, to Ben Cameron, to our tech, of course, in Adrian Sardi, and back in the studio to Sam McManus. Grandstand will continue tomorrow right around the nation, wherever you happen to be. Lots going on. WAFL Grand Final if you're in the West, Vintage Grandstand if you're in the East. Collingwood tonight by points over the Eagles. Here's how he saw it. Duggan, back again to McGovern, who then steps under pressure from Pendlebury over the boundary line, and they've called it deliberate. Well, he didn't have anything else to do. That's what he was trying to get away with, and the kick is inbound, and Cox goes up, and he marks right in front of goal. And the Eagles fans will be filthy. Mason Cox in front. He kicks the goal for Collingwood.
Hoskin Elliott, who marks close to the boundary line, left half forward, right on the arc of 50. He looks inside a congested 50.
Tail kick. Cox again is a man mountain. He's able to drag it in. At left full forward. Looking to kick back-to-back goals for the Magpies. He does just that. From a very tight angle at left full forward.
So Trelaw, alongside the centre circles, kicks towards Cox again. He's got it once more. Comes in, gun barrel straight. Mason Cox has kicked 3 goals in the first term.
Grundy down to the goey from the right forward pocket. That would be truly stunning. How on earth has he kicked that? He's got a second. And Collingwood all of a sudden have gone out to a 7-point lead.
Trelaw away to Adams, falling to ground, gets a kick away towards the pocket. Myercheck's marked it. Deep in the left forward pocket. He's going to hook it around on the right boot with the banana. Arcs out. Never looked like missing.
Waterman has it for West Coast. Just forward of the wing. He'll put it inside forward 50. Big numbers underneath it. Ryan flew from the side, spilled out the back, tapped down by Kennedy. Might have been taken high. He was. And he'll get the free kick right in front of goal. Or Darling Rub from the free kick, right in front. Steers it through. It's a 1-point ball game. The Eagles had one more chance. They couldn't convert. Adams impressive. Collingwood will live to fight another day. They win another epic between these two sides. The Magpies by a point. The Eagles' season is done. Collingwood through to the semis. 12-4-76 to West Coast 11-9-75.